Would everybody please take their seats? Would everybody please find a seat? And we're going to close the door to the outside hall. So if you don't have a seat, you can be along the wall. Thank you.
Any errands come up to you need run, just wait.
Oh, we got okay. So. Close the doors. Okay, I think we need to get started. If we can have it quiet, please. Before I even say anything, would everybody turn off their cell phone, or at least put it on vibrate? Nothing like an interrupting of a cell phone while the candidates are talking. Good evening. It's some crowd tonight, especially compared to Monday. My name is Jane Wanderer. I'm the current president of the League of Women Voters of Butte County. One of the things the League of Women Voters does is put on candidate forums. Voter education, voter service is one of the things we do best. I'd like to also say that you are welcome to take still pictures with no flash. No videos are allowed. We take a video of this meeting and post it on our website. The League of Women Voters has the right to the property of the video, and we do not allow it to be chopped into pieces to be used in part by the candidates or anyone else for that matter. The press is allowed to take pictures and to take videos, and tonight I want to introduce the press before I give you a few more comments about League. We have Sky Schofield from KCHO Radio, Tom Gascoigne from the Chico News and Review, Roger Aylworth from the Chico Enterprise Record, and all the way down from Reading is Jenny Espino of the Reading Record Searchlight. The other thing the League of Women Voters does is take action on various issues. The one thing we never do is support a candidate, and we never support a party. So we are not a partisan organization in terms of candidates and parties. However, we do take positions on issues that we study, and we come to consensus. And you may see us speaking before a city council meeting, or you may hear about the National League involved in a lawsuit. They do that only with the permission of the membership. And we are a grassroots organization, and most of those ideas come from the bottom up, and they start right here and go all the way to our national organization. Let me introduce a couple of the League members tonight who are going to be helping. Sean Murphy is our Voter Service Director, and tonight she is the moderator. Claire Green is helping her keep track of the time and who's speaking next. Claire is our Natural Resources Director. Then we have Rose Kelly. She is in charge of the Observer Corps and is also a director on our board. And then we have Carol Burr helping screen questions with Rose, and Carol is a past president of the League of Women Voters and is currently overseeing a healthcare study that we're working on. And in the audience, I have two people helping with the timing. I have Sandy Boyd holding up the timing cards, and Betsy Kruger, also a past president of the League of Women Voters. She has the stopwatch. Out in the audience, I have Linda Furr acting as a question taker, Diana Megri, Sharon Wallace, William, Todd Mancias. Whom else do I have? Have I missed somebody? Okay, with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Sean Murphy. She is the moderator for tonight.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Tonight, our forums will include U.S. Congressional District 1, Chico City Council, and a spoken statement from the CUSD school district candidates. We would ask that you please hold applause for each of the candidates until at the end of each forum. And to lay the ground rules tonight, the candidates will each have 2 minutes to open, 2 minutes to make a closing statement, and 1 minute to answer each question. As our President Jane mentioned, there are index cards at the back of the room on the table, and our pages will be going around. If you would like to ask a question, submit a question for the candidates to possibly be asked, we will go around and pick those up. Just hold your hand up and she'll bring you a pen and some notepad. Also, The screeners up here, the purpose of the screeners is to help prevent duplicate questions, to assure that the topics of greatest interest to the audience are asked, and to put aside personal questions and make sure that the questions being asked are appropriate for the branch of government that is currently seated at the forum. Tonight, the Enterprise Record and the News and Review will be alternating questions as well as the Record Searchlight. If it comes up. Comes up, okay. And then we'll alternate with audience questions. So tonight we will start with the U.S. 1st Congressional District with Mr. Doug Lamalfa and Ms. Heidi Hall. The candidates drew numbers to see who would be opening first and closing first. And so the opening order tonight will be Ms. Hall to make the opening statement first, followed by Mr. Lamalfa. And if the candidates would like to come down and take their seats, we can get started. Whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Turn on your mic.
Now? Yes. Now it's really on. Thank you. I want to thank you very much to the League of Women Voters for having this forum. I want to thank the audience for being having so many people come out tonight interested in this important race. Very pleased to see so many of you tonight. And to those folks who couldn't come tonight because of it's Rosh Hashanah, I apologize for that. And thank you all for being here. I'm also very pleased that my opponent is here tonight. He chose not to come to 7 of the 8 forums that happened during the primary. And we tweaked him about that a little bit in the press. We felt we had to do that. And so I'm really excited that he's out here tonight, as I do believe it is the job of our candidates and our representatives to answer the questions that we all have for them. I'm running for this seat in Congressional District 1 because I am deeply disappointed in the way Congress is functioning today. We have a system that is one of the best in the world, and it is troubled. And while we have what I believe is a moderate majority in Congress, in the House of Representatives particularly, willing to do some work, we do have a group of extremists who are obstructing legislation in this Congress, and I want to get in there and get some work done. I am the daughter of school teachers. Came up through the public school system, and my children came up through the public school system as well, and I'm a strong advocate of public education and investing in that in this country. I'm also the mother and the daughter of veterans. My son, who's a veteran, is struggling to make it in this economy, and I am a strong advocate of veterans' issues in this country. We should, when our children decide to put their life on the line for this country, we need to be there for them for every reason for the rest of their lives. I have a bachelor's and a master's in international relations and a second master's in public policy, and I will bring that excellent education to Congress to make the tough decisions we have to make. I was fortunate enough to get that education thanks to federal loans, and I was able to pay all of that back, and that's actually the only federal assistance I've ever had, and I did pay that back. But I believe we should be helping students to get a good education as well. Thank you very much.
If we could please hold our applause until both candidates are done with the forum tonight, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate being able to be here tonight. Thank you to the League for faithfully putting on these forums over the years. I've enjoyed participating in them in the past, and I'm glad to be here tonight with you as Congress is in recess until after the election, unless something pipes up that we really have to address. So, you know me, I'm from the neighborhood. Our family's been here in Butte County for many, many years, and I really have been honored and enjoyed representing the North State, my capacities over the years. And so, it's first term in the U.S. House of Representatives. It's been an amazing experience for me, for my family, but also I think we're on the path to a better way for America here. We've been pretty productive this last year and a half in the sense that we need to go in the direction of jobs, strengthening our economy, and putting America back on top first, because America is a shining light to all the world of what we can do when we have the freedom, we have the opportunity to shine as individuals. And so that's what I'm trying to instill in Congress. It's been a tough row. We have strong disagreements on issues, but we have a lot of times we work together on a bipartisan and a bicameral basis in the House, too. That doesn't always get noticed by the folks, or doesn't always come out in the media. We can get things done when we work together and we have common goals. And so for the North State, it's getting our economy going again. It's getting people back to having opportunity for paying jobs that come from the private sector especially. Now, we're seeing California in the middle of drought. We're seeing our forests go up in smoke. I sit on the Natural Resources Committee to try and do something about that. And we're going to have success if we pull together and use the types of facts, the types of science, the types of common sense that's going to make those things work better for the people of the North State, for the West, for all of our country. So I'm eager to get started once again, and I appreciate, again, you all taking your time to be part of the civic process and being here tonight. So with that, thank you. I look forward to your questions tonight.
Thank you. And we will start the questions off with Mr. Gascoigne from the Chico News and Review, directed at Ms. Hall.
Okay. This was just touched on by Mr. Lamalfa, but is there such a thing as human-caused climate change? And if so, should it be a concern when considering certain legislation?
And I'm first to answer. Yes, 97% of the scientists who are experts in this agree that climate change is real and it is human-caused. Not only that, the insurance and reinsurance industry is preparing for the effects of climate change. The U.S. Catholic bishops have agreed that it's an issue that needs to be taken up. Homeland Security and the DOD are all preparing for what will happen, and we need to deal with this today. It is one of the biggest issues in this world today, and we can take action on it if we can only move forward from debating the facts and actually start debating the solutions.
Well, the climate of the globe has been changing since God created it. It goes up and down with temperature, with different conditions. Thank you. And so what is mankind's role in that? Well, I'll tell you, America is always on the leading edge of the technology to do things better. We're running the cleanest cars, the cleanest trucks that we ever have. We're finding new ways to do energy more efficiently, more cheaply, which makes America first in the global economy. If we make America stronger in the global economy, do we want instead to have the jobs here, to have things happen in this country, or do we want to export them to countries that do things dirtier than we do? So allowing the technology to develop, we can do better environmentally all the time if we're thriving, if we're doing well. And so that's why I battle in Washington to make sure energy is being done and explored for and found in this country, so that we're not getting it from our enemies, or that the other countries are doing all the production in a dirty fashion and our jobs are exported.
Thank you. Next question will come from Mr. Elworth, and Mr. Lamalfa will be the first to answer.
This is sort of a follow-up question in a way. One of the issues that's been important in Butte County is the question of hydraulic fracturing. Where do you two come down on that issue?
Are you speaking, sir, of the measures on the ballot or in general on hydraulic fracturing?
Can't make my stupid light go on. I'm talking about the issue of hydraulic fracturing in the broadest possible sense.
Okay, thank you. Hydraulic fracturing has been extremely successful. It's really been a miracle in a sense of producing energy, making it available for America as well as other countries that are embracing it. And so the technology improves all the time on that as well. But it's made natural gas so available in this country that it hasn't been this cheap in a long time. It's also attracting people from Europe that want to invest in America. They're considering doing that with manufacturing, with jobs here, because the cost of energy are coming down, at least in that vein. Now, we still have to do more about gasoline prices and diesel. That's a different topic. But hydraulic fracturing, done properly, has really been an amazing achievement for stable energy that comes from the U.S. at stable prices. So I support it, and I also support that we have strong protocols to make sure it's being done right.
For those of you who don't know, hydraulic fracturing or fracking is the practice of injecting hundreds of thousands of gallons of water deep into the earth to crack the shale and get the remnant oil out from underground. We use water that we don't have to spare right now to do that. It involves multitudes of chemicals that are injected in the ground and are seeping into the aquifers. And it is, as far as we can tell right now, causing earthquakes, causing home prices to drop where fracking is happening near homes. It's a dangerous practice that is not regulated currently. There is a giant loophole for the Clean Water Act altogether, which is unheard of for any other industry. I am not opposed to responsible, careful ways to bring oil out of the earth, but fracking is not it. I currently support a moratorium until we can do more studies and make sure that if we're going to do it at all, it's going to be done properly.
Please respect the rules that we have established so that we can have a fair discussion of the issues. Thank you. This question comes from the audience. Would you agree to raise the cap on payroll tax as part of a fix for Social Security? Or are you in any form of privatizing Social Security? And this question would be answered first by Ms. Hall.
Thank you for that question. I'm an advocate for protecting our Social Security payments. That is an earned benefit that people have paid into for much of their lives, at least people who earn less than $150,000 a year. And we need to strengthen and secure it. Privatizing Social Security would put us in the same position that people whose retirement funds were invested in on Wall Street recently have been put in, where they ended up losing much of their life savings. Social Security works well right now. It needs to be strengthened, and I don't support privatizing it. I am open to efficiencies. There are efficiencies we can make in the federal government, absolutely. And having worked in the federal government, I'm going to be the first one to point out where those things can happen. I am also open to raising the payroll cap in order to make sure that we secure our Social Security.
Thank you, Mr. LaMalfa. Yes. Would you agree to raise the cap on the payroll tax as part of a fix for Social Security? And do you agree with privatizing any portion of Social Security?
I don't think we need to do either one of those measures until we've assessed and actually acted on making Social Security more sustainable as is. We have the need to make people that have paid into it be the ones that are the beneficiaries of that more so. And I think that when we look at Social Security perhaps not being solvent after the year 2035 or 2040, we have some serious efforts we need to make on that. Now, what that's going to require is that if anybody wants to take on the issue of Social Security, I was speaking with a colleague about this just recently, that we have to do it in an honest, open forum with a constructive input on both sides on this, because it becomes a hot button issue, becomes a third rail issue, so to speak. Nobody wants to touch it because it becomes so political. But if we want people to be able to receive what they've paid into that over time, and have, first of all, have the government not be borrowing from it, but have it a big pot of IOUs, it belongs to the people, and it needs to be sustained long term, and find a way to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is, what will you do to address the severe drought that we are in? And this question goes to Mr. LaMalfa first.
Thank you. It's been an issue on my plate for a long time as a legislator, and I'm hoping we can have more success. It's sad that it takes a drought to get this on the front page for folks to really want to weigh in. Government needs to move on this. And so I have legislation currently in Washington, H.R. 4300, to address, to finish talking about, finish studying, and authorize Sept Reservoir over here on the west side of the valley. That would mean up to 1.9 million acre feet. Doesn't solve all of California's problems, but it gets a start on that. It's going back in the direction when there was a time in the state where we built the water storage systems that we're enjoying now with Lake Shasta, Lake Oroville, and many others in the Central Valley Project, as well as the State Water Project. So we know how to do it. We know it needs to be done. Sites Reservoir, I think, is the one that's at the top of the list, because I was out there 2 different times at least with biologists to say if we can't build it here environmentally, then we can't build one anywhere. In California, the United States is a can-do state and a can-do country. We can do this. Let's get it done.
What most people might in the state of California don't realize is that 60% of their water comes from the North State, and only 1%, and in the current water bond that's being proposed, it would be much less than 1% of the funds to help sustain our watersheds come back to this district. That's unconscionable, and that's a factor of the lack of leadership we've had in keeping our water up here in the North State where it belongs first before we share it with the rest of the state. Now, regional and small-scale dams are a partial solution to our drought, but they are not the solution. As my friend likes to say, pouring cement does not make it rain. And if you look around, you can see that we have some very nice dams right now that are empty. The issue is allocation of water. Again, we need to make sure we take care of our farmers and our ranchers, our businesses and our homes, and be part of that conversation that is not happening right now that says that our North State needs to have a higher priority in water.
Thank you. Mr. Gascoigne? To Ms. Hall.
Yes, getting away from the domestic scene a bit, how is the U.S., how do you think the U.S. is reacting to what is going on with ISIS in Iraq and Syria?
Thank you for that question. That's a very important issue at the top of the list right now. I'm most concerned that Congress has been given a 7-week full paid vacation to go home rather than staying in Washington and debating the issue of whether or not we should be involved in this upcoming war in the Middle East. I support right now the airstrikes that are happening. The ISIL and ISIS is a clear terrorist threat, not just to the Middle East, but also to this country, and we need to be involved in a small way in helping stop that. We cannot be as the policemen of the world, and this area is a region that needs to have a regional political solution. I'm pleased right now that Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates are involved as well, equally with the United States. They soon need to be taking over the leadership to deal with this horrific issue that's happening overseas. Again, I call on the President and Congress to call Congress back to Washington and debate this issue. If we're going to be asking our children to ultimately end up supporting war in that area of the world, we need to make sure there's a thorough debate about that.
Please restate, Mr. Gascoigne.
How do you judge or rate the way the U.S. government is reacting to what is going on with ISIS in Iraq and Syria?
The U.S. government has, our military, all different branches have engaged in that we need to, first of all, destroy ISIL, because the horrendous things they're doing to innocent people over there and the threat that it poses to our allies such as Israel, even Western Europe, and our own porous border we have here is not to be taken lightly. So anything less than a serious approach is dereliction of duty. Congress acted along with the President before our adjournment to address the need for airstrikes, but also a solution with the partners in the Mideast. And those partnerships are tenuous sometimes, but this is the coalition that we have to put together. So what we have is a product here where the executive branch will be working to develop those relationships to have a strong, unified force with people in the Arab world as well as the United States help. So our Air Force will be part of that. The Arab world will be putting forth their troops for training as well as funding to fund the effort there. So I think with what we put together...
Thank you, Mr. Lamalfa.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Elworth?
I found the button. One of the things that is a big issue, again, in Butte County has been access to and availability to go into and use the national forest lands, both for recreational purposes and for logging and for other activities within the forests. what should the stance be on the federal level about citizen access to these forests?
To Mr. Hall, yes. Or I mean, Mr. Hamalfa.
Thank you. We should all be together on petitioning and being very loud about getting the Forest Service to do much more management. It's not really managing our federal lands. These are our lands right now, and that would mean that when we have an inventory of trees per acre that makes the forest a tinderbox instead of a managed forest like you see on a lot of times on private lands or state lands or others that are being managed properly. We just toured Siskiyou County Monday all day long looking at the damage to the city of Weed, as well as the 250,000 acres that have been lost around the county. And most of that has been inaction by the Forest Service. We have roadless areas, we have people being cut off from recreation and access. That recipe is not working. I actually asked the Forest Service personnel there, what will this land look like in, say, 5 to 7 years from now compared to the private property next door? That private property will be soon thriving again because they're going to be taking out the salvage timber, replanting. They admitted to me the Forest Service land will have a bunch of gray dead trees and brush growing in it, which is the next tinderbox.
Thank you. Ms. Hall?
Yes, thank you. I've been advocating for the need for fire-safe clearing in federal forests this entire time I've been out campaigning for a year and a half and warning about the possibility of another rim fire, which we are now seeing up north. Again, there's been 30 years of mismanagement of the federal and state forest land, and there's been all that time of opportunity to take this on and handle it before we had the next wildfire, and that hasn't been done. Just last week, my colleague, Congressman Garamendi, proposed that we fully fund the firefighting efforts as well as the prevention efforts, and my first question was, why hasn't this been done before? Again, there's been a complete lack of leadership when it comes to the North State issues, especially our forests. They do need fire-safe clearing. We can create a private-public partnership, create jobs, get people in there, clear out the urban-rural interface. We could deal with multiple issues at once if we took that on, and that will be one of my highest priorities in Congress.
Thank you. This question goes to Ms. Hall. What is your position on immigration reform?
This is one of those areas where the moderate middle of this country and Congress has come to agreement in principle. Our immigration system is broken. It's clear that that's the case. We're seeing continuous problems at the border. We're not handling our immigrants who are in this country now. The first thing that needs to happen is immigration reform, whereby we make it possible for immigrants who come here to get through the process in something less than 10 years and become citizens. We've doubled the amount of money going to the border, and that's not working either. We need to do more to handle and process the people coming across the border. We're going to need to have employer checks. I would support a guest worker program. We need to make sure the DREAM Act kids are handled and treated fairly and with compassion. And ultimately, we need Congress to pass a bill that's functional.
Thank you.
One more time.
Pardon?
One more time.
Oh. You keep snatching my question. What is your position on immigration reform?
Thank you.
Stealing the question.
Immigration reform looks to me like enforcing the laws we already have in place. We have laws on illegal immigration already. That's why it's called illegal. If we enforced the border in a manner prescribed by already existing laws, we would be much better off. We can accommodate citizens, people seeking citizenship, much better than what we're doing now. We should have it be an incentive to follow the law instead of 10 or 15 years sometimes for people to apply for citizenship. That's where government's falling down, is that we're not making it user-friendly for citizenship, and we're also not addressing people that are overstaying their visas. That's 40% of the illegal immigration problem in this country. So if the executive branch would enforce the laws we have, we wouldn't be having to talk about reforming things. We'd have just very narrow areas we'd be looking at. So let's have a guest worker program with people that are documented. They would have free flow back and forth across the border to go see their families, to come work here. And it would work much better if we would just address that and enforce the laws we have.
Thank you. What is your position on the Affordable Care Act? And that question goes to Mr. LaMalfa.
Thank you. Well, the Affordable Care Act, I think, had probably lofty and good goals. It's like be sure that everybody's covered, cut costs, address the needs that we're lacking in healthcare in this country right now. Unfortunately, the approach in action has started out of the starting blocks. Websites didn't work, government trying to manage people's healthcare insurance and finding brokers for it. We have a broker system already where people can seek health insurance. So the sad thing about it is that many people that were already happy and satisfied with their coverage have lost that. People that thought they were going to get a break on that, perhaps from the ACA, like $2,500 less per year as advertised, have seen their costs skyrocket. So the government management of this program has not worked. We need to do refinement and improvements to what's happening in the private sector, but what we have now has been a disaster. So let's go back to something that we're offering, such as the American Health Care Reform Act. Keep your plan, keep your doctor, and we'll address the people that need help, because we're not the type of country to let people go without, but we need to do it efficiently because
Thank you.
it is a taxpayer's money.
The Affordable Care Act was a compromise between the Democrats and the Republicans to help bring the cost of health care down and to help so many of our unemployed people get insurance. It has succeeded wildly in some ways, in particular making sure that people with pre-existing conditions would not be turned down from health care, reducing the cost of health care to women, who are 50% of the population, and bringing millions more into the healthcare system who were not covered before. And by the way, even when they didn't have healthcare, we were paying the cost of them ending up in emergency rooms. It does have problems. It has some serious problems that need to be fixed, including the medical device tax and those people who have fallen between the cracks and whose healthcare costs are rising. They need to be dealt with. Let me remind you that my opponent put his first priority is repealing the Affordable Care Act, and that Congress has had 52 votes to undo the entire thing. If they had 52 votes to improve or implement the act, it would be working fine by now.
Thank you. This next question will come from Mr. Gascoigne to Ms. Hall.
The Farm Bill that was passed earlier this year had some critics who said that it expands crop insurance for farmers by $7 billion over the next decade, creates new subsidies that would kick in when prices drop, but at the same time, about 1.7 million people across 15 states will lose an average of $90 per month because of cuts in the food stamp program, which was tied to it. Is this fair?
No, it's not. And I would call for an audit of the Farm Bill, which, by the way, has never been audited before, although the food stamp program has been audited. It's unconscionable to me as a fiscal moderate that we're spending $14 billion a year to prop up millionaire farmers and telling people on food stamps that we can no longer give them $4 a day to help them feed themselves, particularly women and children who fall below the poverty line, but we're going to have to give them $3 because we can't afford to give them that extra dollar. But we can continue to prop up farmers in perpetuity at the cost of $14 billion a year. Again, I would call for an audit of the program. 12% of this district is living at or under the poverty line. We should be supporting them with food stamps, and we should be making sure that where and when we give farm subsidies, they make good fiscal sense.
Thank you. Mr. LaMalfa?
My first opportunity to vote on a farm bill this session was one to eliminate the direct payment program in agriculture, and we've done that. We've moved instead where farmers have skin in the game by paying into an insurance program. There's a lot of wild accusations made about that, but that said, it's working out because when the price is above a certain standard, no payments go to anybody. When it falls below that, that's when the insurance kicks in. You know, you all pay for auto insurance, you only use it when something happens. Same thing with the farm program under the insurance policy. The only benefits are when there is a problem with the market or a disaster. This is much more cost effective to do it this way because it's organized instead of things that happen during a disaster where it has to come directly out of the Treasury if the Congress agrees to do that. On the food stamp side, we don't want anything happen for those that really should be eligible. We just think that any program that has been in place for a lot of years needs to have benchmarks and course corrections over its time. And so it was very modest what was done in that regard. Thank you.
Mr. Elworth?
The United States has a voluminous tax code. I have reason to believe that nobody really understands it, including the IRS. What should we be doing, or what should the Congress and Senate be doing with our existing tax code?
Mr. LaMalfa?
Well, first of all, the IRS shouldn't be snooping in everybody's lives. If they don't understand their own tax code, they shouldn't be selecting winners and losers on who's going to be audited. So I think we need to do much reform to the IRS. That said, the tax code, the tens of thousands of pages as it is, doesn't work very well for the people. A flatter, fairer tax that is simpler for people to process and do themselves would be right. Anytime you try and touch it there's all these interacting issues of you try and adjust this tax code, it hurts that person. So it's been very, very difficult to have that discussion in Congress. My colleague Dave Camp has been working very hard on tax reform, and we have a long ways to go to do that. But I would like to see it be flatter, fairer, easier for all people to be able to understand and process their own taxes. Thank you.
This is one of those issues that I believe, again, the moderate majority in Congress and in the United States agrees. The tax code is a mess, it's complicated, it's hard to follow, and it doesn't help any of us. It needs to be streamlined and simplified. In particular, small businesses have an onerous amount of paperwork to do, and all of that can be made much more efficient. I just want to suggest that a flat tax is regressive. It would fall harder on poorer people than it would on wealthier, and I'm a strong believer that people should be paying their fair share, and that includes the top 1% of this country.
Thank you. What specifically will you do or implement to aid our veterans when they come home in regards to housing, jobs, health care, and benefits? And this question goes to Ms. Hall first.
Thank you. Veterans issues are close to my heart, again, as a daughter and a mother of a veteran. And I've seen the devastation that veterans have experienced here with problems in our system. I've already identified that I would dedicate one staff entirely to veterans issues in this district because we have such a high veteran population. I want to make sure there are incentives for businesses to hire veterans. That's something we can do right away that would be helpful to them. We can institute training programs to make sure they are coming back with the skills that can be used in our small businesses. And I would not vote for the current budget sitting in Congress, the Ryan budget, which not only cuts senior services and student loan issues, but it also cuts veterans. I would advocate for a budget that is fully funded for veterans issues.
Thank you. Having been a federal legislator for almost 2 years now, that issue has really hit home for us on how important it is. We've always had a great love and value for our veterans. They're among our best in this nation. And to see how the VA system has been serving or not serving them, we've put in many, many hours with several of my staff on that, trying to help individual veterans to get through, we've had claims that have been 36 years old that veterans have waited to get answers back from the VA to get their claims solved. Nobody should have to wait like that. It should be a very simple system where they say, yes sir, yes ma'am, how do we help you get to where you need to be? So we've helped initiate a review of the Oakland VA office so that their poor track record of having tens of thousands of files sitting in a cart somewhere of unsolved, unworked claims for veterans who are waiting. And what does this cause veterans to be homeless, veterans to even give up and commit suicide? This is for our best. It's really poor. We're working really hard. We'll continue to work on VA to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make an announcement with standing room only. They have opened the conference room, number 1, down to the right. If you go out the hall and down to the right, they are broadcasting live there. There's a slight delay. So if any of you would like a seat, I would suggest you go out the door and down there, and you'll still be able to see the forum.
All right, this is our last question from the audience tonight. And the question is, do you agree with Citizens United decision from the Supreme Court, and should Congress pass any legislation to address the decision? And the question goes to Mr. LaMalfa to start.
I think the court in its wisdom made the proper ruling on that, in that everybody should have their First Amendment right to express themselves in elections, in the public square of who they support. So there needs to be the type of accountability for who's donating to campaigns, and we can work to refine that. McCain-Feingold is a nightmare for half the people trying to do it, including local groups that try and sift through unnecessary regulation on that. But that said, open accountability is a positive thing, but we shouldn't limit people's ability to be able to participate in the process of who they want to support and elect, because to come down against that means it's going to be biased towards one type of group and against others. Thank you.
I think most people agree that the Citizens United decision was a mistake. And what happens when we say that speech costs money is that free speech is no longer free. I would support a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. I would support legislative action to overturn it. Money has corrupted our politics, and that goes to both the Democratic and the Republican parties and everyone in between. This country was based on one vote, one person. We need to be able to get our word out there equally, and the Citizens United decision was a corruption of many decisions that had come before it and should be overturned.
Thank you. We will now do closing arguments. So Mr. LaMalfa will go first, and then Ms. Heidi Hall. You will each have 2 minutes to make your final closing statements. Thank you.
Thank you again. I appreciate the League's effort here and everybody for showing up and being part of this. It's not easy in Washington, D.C. It's not easy because you have differing philosophies that collide in the House and they collide in the Senate. That is, if the Senate will take up our bills. But that said, it's been a real pleasure and an honor to be able to work on behalf of the people of the North State. My signs say water, jobs, liberty, and I think that pretty much encapsulates what the priority should be, at least in the short term, for water, getting the type of steps taken to help insulate us from the next drought. A dam doesn't stop a drought, but it helps insulate from the next one. We will get rainfall again someday, and if we have the systems in place, whether it's more storage, more desalination, we need to be self-sufficient on water in California in that sense. Jobs, the federal government is killing jobs with, for example, the waterways of the United States. The EPA and Army Corps of Engineers are shoving down people's throats. Our farmers here in the North State. You might even be with having a rain barrel on your house. You could be regulated from possibly capturing water that came off your own roof because of the overreach of government and regulations. That's killing jobs. It's an economy that's trying to recover and come back, where people in this country need employment, is being snuffed out by the federal government overreach in so many aspects of federal agencies. And that kind of plays right into the most important of those three, liberty. Our founders fought for the opportunities that we're enjoying. And if we don't embrace that, we're not going to have a country soon. Our liberty is what allows us to innovate, to be the leader in the world, to bring freedom and hope to the rest of the world. If that liberty is snuffed out, then we don't look like the United States anymore. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. I would appreciate your vote. God bless you.
Thank you so much to the League for putting on this fantastic forum and for everyone for coming out tonight. This Congress has been the most dysfunctional Congress in the history of the United States, and that is why I am running. I am running to be an advocate for this region, an advocate in a way we haven't had one in a very long time, to provide leadership, to invest in education, in infrastructure, to get broadband up here to help our small businesses, to ensure that we protect our water and our forest resources, to protect our Social Security and our Medicaid, to create a North State that our children can and want to stay in, so they can have jobs, so they can continue their education and stay here and raise their families. That's not what we have going on right now. We have had representation of less government is the best, and what I'm advocating for is a fiscally responsible, efficient government that's put its money in the right places to protect our people and to protect our resources, and to get our money back onto Main Street, not keep recycling it through Wall Street, to get our economy growing. I would like to advocate and lead this North State, beautiful, incredibly beautiful, resource-rich North State, to a place where we can be proud of it, that we are proud to protect our people and our resources rather than asking to secede from the rest of the state. Thank you very much, and I ask for your vote on November 4th.
Thank you. We will take a brief moment to get ready to hear candidate statements for the CUSD School District School Board.
Are they answering questions? Or? Yes.
Now it's too cold.
If there are any candidates for the Chico Unified School District here, could you please come down to the front desk? Thank you.
It's hard for Eileen. So are these the old cut waters?
Would everybody please take their seat? I'd like to close the doors to the room and have people take a seat, please.
The Chico Unified School District Forum will be next, so if you have questions for school board candidates, make sure to hold up your hand, get a card from the back of the room and write them down and have them come to the front. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Chico Unified School District. The candidates drew numbers to determine their opening statements.
Could you close the doors, please? Thank you.
Ms. Van Auken has decided not to run. However, she is still on the ballot, as she made that decision after the time that she could have her name removed off the ballot, so she still remains a candidate. She declined our invitation to participate tonight, so our president, Jane Wander, is going to open with a written statement from Ms. Van Auken. Then we will do the opening statements for the school board, starting with Mr. Gary Lou Stahl, followed by Kathleen Kaiser, and Eileen Robertson, and then we will take questions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. This was addressed from Ms. Van Auken to Rose Kelly, who was the coordinator for tonight to get all the candidates here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this important election. Most importantly, thank you for continuing to include the candidates for the Chico Unified Governing Board. Although I am not participating this evening, my name will still be on the ballot. Continue to question the candidates and choose wisely. Thank you, Cynthia Van Auken.
Thank you. Mr. Lou Stahl?
Thank you. My name is Gary Lou Stahl. I'm running for Chico Unified School Board. As a businessman and educator, and a father of 3 grown children, I bring many years of experience, or would bring many years of experience to the school board. For the past 32 years, I have worked in the information technology field. I was an owner-operator of a computer services business, and for over 20 years, and that was for over 20 years. In the past 12 years, I have worked for Butte County Office of Education as a career tech educator and advisor. My experience has led to implement business partnerships with high schools, as well as create college pathways for students. My volunteer work in the community includes chairman of the Measure E Committee, president of Chico Westside Little League, and a past president of Ishi Toastmasters. Common Core state standards emphasize both college and career readiness. My experiences have helped prepare to work with students in the district and implement streamlined Common Core. As a school board member, I will bring the understanding that educational needs are many and diverse, and I bring an open mind and seek creative solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Kathleen Kaiser. I'm currently in my 2nd term on the Chico Unified School Board and my 2nd time as president. Prior to this office, I served 2 years as the governor's appointed faculty trustee to the California State University Board. I've been a faculty member at Chico State since 1972. I probably educated your children. And I currently serve as the academic statewide senator for Chico State. In that role, I serve with admissions, so I look at all the standards that we expect of entering freshmen and transfer students from the community college, and the academic expectations that we hold for what it means to become a qualified college-ready student. In my professional statewide positions, my role interacts very nicely with the school board. I also have responsibility for teacher ed. On a personal note, I have grandchildren currently in Chico Unified, they're right out there, or are recent graduates. So this is very up close and personal to me. that our kids are getting a good education. The teachers, staff, and the administration at Chico Unified are incredibly committed to student success. The awards, the recognitions, and the new resources that we've been able to bring to Chico have literally put us on the national map with exceptional schools and national award-winning teachers. So why should I run again? I think that's a really legitimate question. My family asked me that. We started the process of building a master plan for the district, and as the voters, you gave us $78 million to engage in that process, to restore and revision what education might mean in Chico. We know we have to change for the Common Core, for our student body. We're moving to middle schools, we're building new facilities, and we're restoring our current facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the League for putting on this function this evening. Being a school board member the past 4 years has been a labor of love, continuing 42 years of service to Chico Unified. I have advocated for increased academic rigor, student physical and emotional health, expanding career and technical education, science, technology, engineering, math, music and the arts, as well as increased coordination of special education programs with general education classes. Providing the best educational opportunities for all students is the #1 goal of Chico Unified, and I support that goal. Implementation of the Common Core state standards has moved into high gear with the start of the 2014-15 school year. Students not only need to understand the who and the what, but also the why of information if they are to flourish in this global society. State funds now come to us in the form of a local control funding formula, with the requirement that the school community develop a local control accountability plan. This process has given parents, staff, and community a greater voice in how resources can best be used to support our students. I worked with those groups to bring the LCAP to the full board for approval. Work toward building a stronger partnership with our employee groups is ongoing, and many challenges await us, and I look forward to facing them all. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to have an opportunity for some questions, and we will start off with the Chico News and Review. Tom Gascoigne.
Yeah, I was wondering if you know who's winning the Giants-Dodgers game. First of all, what is your take on charter schools? Do they help or hurt public schools? And I'm not sure who I
We will go in alphabetical order, starting with Ms. Kaiser.
I just came back from the California STEM conference in San Diego, and one of the young teachers there was a charter school teacher, brand new her first year, tiny little school. And the other person at the table is known as the rapping mathematician. He's very famous. The context of this is, I asked him why he was wearing a wedding ring, and he was like, what? I said, that's the best charter school. When it's deeply wedded to its community, then it thrives, the community's invested, and they support it. We have several of those, and they glow. When it's a postage stamp on a place, it's not very good, and I don't think the kids get what they deserve.
Thank you. Mr. Lustal?
We do. We have some very good charter schools here in Chico, and some charter schools that are building new buildings and have been here for a long time, and they fit a need for children who attend them and parents who want that option. So for some people out there, I believe charter schools are good. They've done a great job. The question was, do they harm or hurt? And I think in some cases, if we have a charter school that does not do well, it can hurt. So all in all is, yes, they can help a community, and they do fit a need for those who want to invest in them.
Thank you. On the issue of charters, I consider them an indicator that there's a need that's not being met in the view of parents. And I think it's very important that parents support whatever educational program their students are involved with. Having said that, I also take the responsibility of oversight of the charters very seriously, which it is the responsibility of the Chico Unified School District Board to do. What we need to do is to make sure that we are watching the successes of charter schools, and if we can learn from them and implement some of those same practices in Chico Unified, that benefits students that remain in Chico Unified Schools, as well as our support for charter schools. And we do have a very cooperative, strong relationship with our charters.
Thank you, Mr. Elworth.
The CUSD's facilities master plan goes decades into the future, and the projected costs run much, much higher than that $78 million. How is that going to be worked out?
Mr. Lustal will start.
Need some more money if you do simple math there, Roger. You know, that's a good question, but I'll tell you one thing that's happened with that list. You know, the voters supported Measure E last election. It won, and one of the things that happened was an architects were hired, and they made a big list, and it showed in that list that we have great needs, and like you said, way into the future. So it's going to take some time, but at least now we have a plan, whereas before we did not have a plan. There's a plan now listing what things need to be done, and the governing board can now look at that and decide in what order they're going to plan and make those changes. So in my opinion, it was the type of thing that we needed that plan in order to go forward, and the needs are great.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. Yes, the needs have been identified far beyond what the bond can raise. And some of the needs that were identified that the board has approved to take a look at are things that I don't think can wait 25 years, especially the improvements at our elementary schools that haven't been touched in so many years. The good news is what we have been able to do in the way of bond sales is allowing us to move into the middle school arena and take the housing numbers out of our elementary schools into the middle schools within the next 2 to 3 years. What happens after that, I think it needs to be revisited. There needs to be a real accounting for whether or not we want to wait 20 years to do some of the improvements. And it will, in fact, be out there 10 to 20 years before the implementation can proceed.
Well, I almost laughed that you gave that to Gary to start, but the context of this is the $78 million is actually only available to us in increments because it depends on the community. And the community is growing. All you have to do is drive down any street in Chico and see the new housing, and that new housing means new school kids. But the other side of the picture is Chico High had not had a new building in 60 years before I came on the board. That building is going to go on the National Register of Outstanding Buildings. It's the only high school building in the nation that's currently getting that recognition. So what we do, we want to do well. We want to do it in a structured way that addresses all of our kids. And we want to have a sense that when we spend a dollar, if there's any chance to get money back, we do, and we have excelled at that. Our buildings are sustainable, energy efficient, and we get money back from the state. Thank you.
Thank you. From the audience. Given that the State Board of Education mandates arts education in public schools and that the arts are a major component of state Common Core standards, what are your ideas for improving the situation at Chico Unified Schools as far as art education is concerned? And Ms. Robinson can start, please.
Yes, thank you. improving the program through coordination and through taking our very, very talented teachers and providing more time at the elementary level, especially so that the arts programs benefit at the junior high level and the senior high level. We have tremendous facilities available once the kids get out of elementary school. One of the impacts of the bonds not being available is the arts facilities at our elementary schools will not accommodate some of the programs that we would like to see going on, and that's a shame. But with support from the Community Arts for All program and other community supports for our arts in schools, it is going to flourish. And if we can get fiscal financial support, we can put facilities in place that will enhance it.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser.
Well, Chico's in the top 100 arts community. Our district has a performing arts center that most cities don't have, located at the PV High School site. Our choir at Chico High just got invited to perform in the National Youth Choir at Carnegie Hall. Please take out money and donate it to them so they can go. But in effect, we are doing a phenomenal job under the severe constraints that the state put us in. When you limit the money and you increase class sizes, it's very, very difficult to do the arts. I praise our teachers who are committed to the arts and our community who has supported that. My own kid went as a performer in the Chico Marsh Choir and then in the Chico Children's Choir and performed at Carnegie Hall. It's incredible that from one town we have this much talent. We should let it shine.
Yeah, I agree with both the ladies. The arts are just part of ensuring that we educate the whole child. Our community is very strong in the arts, and you see it all over the place. We have had a chance to have strong bands and strong choirs and just a very good facilities all the way from the elementary schools on up. So I would continue to want to support the arts, to look everywhere we possibly could to ensure that that type of education is something that our students receive and that we can offer it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. This question comes from the audience as well. Local control has been restored to the school districts. What are the pros and cons of this change? Starting with Ms. Kaiser.
Local control is a philosophical idea, but I think it has a lot of resonance in this community. It says you start with your community's needs, and your community tells you how to spend the funds. We've done a very good job of that. We had Hmong translators, Spanish translators. We paid for childcare. We gave the families free dinners. We did everything we could to see that every member of our community would participate in that planning. That said, the state then says, prove it. And I think that's the real kicker here. We know how our community wants us to spend the money. We know how much money we have. It's not enough, but we have to make it make a difference. And that's what we're on the track to do. And this next year, that would be the proof. Were we successful or not?
Thank you. Mr. Listal?
Yes, I had the opportunity to attend some of the LCAP meetings in our community, and I was very impressed by the method that the school district and the school board handled them. They did an excellent job of seeing to it that people had the chance to express what they wanted to see in our schools with the LCAP coming forward. One of the questions there was, what are some of the maybe disadvantages? And so I'll hit that just a little bit. I think it's new chartered territory. So that means that we have to go forward on something that we haven't done before. We haven't experienced it. And so we need to look and see and review each year to find out which is what LCAP wants us to do. They want us to review, make sure we're on the right track. So that is going to be a very important element to ensure that we go straight on that line.
I was very glad to see the legislation that brought the local control funding formula to our plate, and I too participated in the process and was just so impressed with the community's understanding of what their schools, their kids needed. Coupled with the partnership of staff that also participated with the parents in these meetings, I think that our plan is a good solid one. I'm looking forward to seeing if the implementation strategies that have been developed prove useful and productive, and we will reassess next year, which is also part of the plan. I don't see a downside. I support it. I think the community's investment in it is the important part, and I look forward to continuing to work with the community to make it successful.
Thank you. And we will have one last question. This question is, what is the CUSD process to guarantee that all children in the district have equal access to all educational choices, such as Spanish immersion programs, etc.? And this goes to Mr. Lustal first.
I believe that that's probably one of the strong qualities that Chico Unified has, is that they have an open system where you can choose and go to the different schools, the different types of schools, such as Spanish immersion, that allow you the best learning for your child. And that's been a policy that I would endorse, that they have implemented. And that way you can choose and you can find a school that works best for you. And that's a great thing. And I think that's what makes our school district one of the best around, is that there are different programs that parents can choose for their children, and then they can go there.
Thank you. Ms. Robinson?
Yes, I agree totally that the choice for selecting the program that you believe would be best for your children is expanding, actually, in Chico Unified, with the increase of support for our STEM program, for example, at Parkview. This is a benefit of being partners with our university. We have just an amazing amount of support for different types of programs, and our parents' ability to select a school and attend is one of the things that I do support, and I think our open enrollment policy is what's kept us a district-wide charter school, actually, because of the selection process.
Well, we have 4 elementary schools that are in effect specialized. We have Hooker Oak, open classrooms. We have Parkview, the STEM elementary school, the only one between Sacramento and Oregon. We have the Rosedale, which is Spanish immersion, and we have Sierra View, which most people don't think about, but it's actually a very selective, high-focused math instruction. So the students are having choice. We have Inspire, which is an in-district charter, the arts and science, and they had a 99% graduation rate in their first year as a high school. That's unheard of in the state of California. So I think students and parents are making choices. They are looking to utilize their gifts. And what we have to do as a board and as staff is to continue to enrich that potential, that they'll find their way. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take a 2-minute closing statement from each of you, starting with Ms. Robinson, followed by Ms. Kaiser, and ending with Mr. Lustal.
Thank you. My closing words this evening are not about me, but about the Chico community and its support over the years for our youth. Since I became a parent and activist in Chico schools in 1972, Chico has passed 3 school bond measures, raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for school supplies, local field trips, academic competitions, band days, choral competitions, and kept alive an amazing sports program. They have sent students to Europe, Washington, D.C., Africa, and this year are working to raise $100,000, yes, bring your checks forward, to send our Chico High choral students to Carnegie Hall in New York City. Each year, local employers hire our students and help them gain valuable experience in how to be a good employee. They support our career and technical programs, our ag program, and many others. Without this support, these activities would not be available to our students. The state does not fund anything outside of the classroom. So to everyone in the community, I say thank you for all you do for the students of Chico. It has been my pleasure to know you and to be of service, and I hope to continue in that role. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser.
Well, the statement that we're a shining light on the hill hasn't been true about education in California for a while. Much of that's driven by a negative state budget, by a failure to recognize the changing expectations in educational skills and needs, and also our changing student body. However, we as a district, I think, have worked extremely hard, everyone, to make it through and to try in every possible way to increase our expectations. So I'll just repeat a conversation I had last night. I was sitting next to the Chico High National Chemistry Teacher of the Year, Janelle Ball, and I asked her, why did you stop in your PhD and just stay, quote unquote, teaching at Chico High? And her answer was, because she loves it. Because she loves the challenge of each new group of students coming her way and what she can do to inspire them to love the learning, in this case of chemistry. It's a very powerful statement to have someone with that kind of recognition choosing to stay in our high school. I would hope that our students get that kind of inspiration every single day from a teacher, a principal, or a staff member that they interact with. And certainly as a board member, I feel like it's my job to try to see that Chico lives up to its very best. And that's going to take the best from all of us, because we don't have the money that we need, but I think we have the inspiration and the dedication. So I thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lustal will have the last word tonight.
Chico it's a great place to live, and I've lived here for more than 30 years. And one of the reasons that I am running for governing board is because we have so many different schools and they are anchors to our community. And it is a great privilege to have the possibility of serving on the board to ensure that those schools continue to grow and get better and better, so that we could not necessarily look at our children as products, but look at them as living children that go on to other communities or stay in our community, and that people know that they came from Chico. And so it would be a great privilege for me to continue with these two ladies who have put in a lot of time, and they've put in during a period where budget has been terrible and they've had to cut. Maybe now we see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and we can take that opportunity to move forward for Chico and the great schools that it has, the opportunity to make them a place where everybody is proud to be. So I would encourage you to vote for me and for these ladies come election day. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we give our candidates a round of applause?
Thank you. I was too nervous.
Our next forum will be for Chico City Council. We'll take about a 10-minute break, and we will hope to get that one on around 8 o'clock. If you have questions, make sure you write them down. If we could go ahead and have everyone take their seats and have the candidates for Chico City Council come up to the front, we would like to get started with the forum. Thank you. This forum is going to follow the similar format as the previous ones tonight. Candidates have drawn numbers to determine their opening and closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their open and 2 minutes for their closing. Questions will alternate between audience questions asked by me and questions asked by media from Chico News and Review and the Enterprise Record. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer their questions. We ask everybody again to please hold all applause until the forum is completely finished and all candidates have made their final closing statement. The opening order for opening statements will start with Ms. Lupe Aramlaw. And because there are so many of you, I will just give your names as you go along. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for having this forum tonight. Thank you, everyone who chose to come out this evening. My name is Lupe Aramlaw, and I am running for Chico City Council. I am what Chico needs for a fresh start. I have the right blend of business management experience, 7 years of community leadership, a solid education. I have a degree in political science, and a strong calling to serve. I have over 20 years of managing budgets and negotiating contracts. My business background includes working for Bechtel Power Corporation in international accounting. I worked as a project coordinator for a reputable general contractor in San Francisco, Maida & Jensen. I then transferred that skill set to manufacturing and became the purchasing manager for Fafco Inc. in Redwood City, the employer I moved to Chico with in the year 2000. 14 years ago, I was part of the relocation management team that was dazzled by Chico. Chico offers everything that a thriving city could provide: great schools, an airport, healthcare facilities, beautiful parks, trees, and of course, a wonderful group of friends. My current employment is youth director at my church, grades 6 through 12. I have been involved in various community activities: PTA, Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, Stonewall, Tourist Shelter, and more. In addition to my credentials and experience, I bring my values and my strong belief in building bridges of clear communication, which I believe is the key to a productive community. Running a city is like running a large corporation, and the city council is the board of directors. The difference is the definition of the profits. For a corporation, it's the bottom line, profit money. And for the city, although we need a healthy treasury and a management and a manageable budget, the city's bottom line is measured by the people's confidence and attitude and happiness. Thoughtful choices. Thoughtful choices.
I'm going to ask everyone to please be mindful as best you can of the paddle holders. There are 7 of you up here tonight, so it's going to take up time to get through each candidate, so we want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to be heard. Our second opening statement goes to Mr. Sorensen.
Thank you. Well, I had the good fortune of growing up in this great community. My wife and I met at Chico High, and like a lot of young folks that grew up in this community, had to leave for a period of time just to find a job, because that's really what you had to do, particularly back in the late 70s. But had the good fortune to get a job as a technician with RCA, and shortly thereafter joined the ranks of management, and stayed with General Electric after they bought the company for another 4 years. And then in 1990, we had the ability to engineer a way back to our hometown, and went into business for myself. The biggest reason was, at that point in time, we had 3 daughters under the age of 5, so we really wanted to come back to Chico and be near family and have them grow up in a great community. And since that time, they've made it all the way through college. and now work at some of Chico's great foundations of enterprise, places like Build.com and Fifth Sun. Also had the pleasure of serving 14 years on the board of Catalyst, 9 of those years as the treasurer of the organization, another 9 on the board of the Chico Chamber of Commerce, 2 years as a City of Chico Planning Commissioner, 4 years as your council member, where I've clearly demonstrated that I've got the skills, the ability, and the desire to do the job. This is a municipal corporation that has appropriations over $110 million every year. So it's really important that we get folks that have good, solid financial and business experiences. And with your vote in November, I look forward to serving another 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. Grundle will go next.
I listened politely at a recent candidate forum as one candidate arrogantly declared themselves as the only qualified candidate. So let's talk about facts. My 22 years as a county official, including the last 9 as a county department head, with oversight of 8 departments, more than 60% of the county staff, and over half of the county budget. That is 5 times the number of years as a county official over this candidate, plus double the number of years experience. That does not count my decade of experience owning my own business, my 2 terms on the Planning Commission, and my 3 terms on the City Council. Since the City Council has only 3 employees, why is a human resources background so important? Well, I believe this candidate must believe that they will be negotiating the employee bargaining agreements. And this council uses a proven negotiator with over 19 years of legal experience and a law degree and 22 years of direct bargaining experience. That a candidate believes that they can actually perform any direct portion of negotiation leads me to believe that they know little about the position that they seek. And when stumped by a question, often we find that this candidate and the rest of my conservative colleagues will fall back to one of 2 positions. Either I'm full of rhetoric or I caused the city's financial calamity. So here's a fact. It was a unanimous vote that this council resulted in a shift in the organization to correct its financial mess, and this has been the same cooperation that's led to its recovery. So every time you hear the progressives have caused this mess, just remember, it's the city that is recovering faster than ever imagined, such as the private development fund going from $9 million in the red to $900,000 in the black. So that knocks out at least one excuse for this evening, and therefore I must simply be full of rhetoric.
Thank you. Mr. Coolidge?
Thank you for it. Got to push the button. Okay. Test. All right. Thank you for having us here today. Again, my name is Andrew Coolidge. Like many people here today, I believe Chico needs help. I'm concerned about the safety of our children and our families as crime has continued to rise for the last 2 years. I've also watched, like you, as our city was taken to near bankruptcy with flawed leadership, mismanaged budgets, lack of accountability and responsibility. While it is easy to complain about the mistakes of the City Council, it is harder to do something about it. So I'm here today because I want to do something about it. I want to make public safety a priority. I want our downtown and our city to be safe again. I want our businesses to be respected and new businesses to be welcomed again. We need city councilors who understand that these are not fun times, that this is not a time that we should be spending the taxpayers' money on pet projects, but rather a time to work hard and also for determination. We need a city council made of people who have experience handling large budgets and large organizations. So I'd ask you to join me in working towards a better Chico. I'm asking for your vote and support in the upcoming election and appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum.
Thank you. Ms. Molina?
Hi. I'm Faru Maria Molina, and I'm running for City Council. I think I'm an ideal candidate for this council, given my background. I was born at Enloe. That doesn't qualify me as a candidate. But I grew up here, and I have a varied background. I grew up in the south part of Chico to hardworking parents. They valued education and encouraged us to do the same. I was able to work hard through high school and college and attended Chico State. I've been a teacher for almost 20 years, and I've been in charge of many programs throughout all my years in teaching, leadership positions. I've been asked to move different schools to help with very difficult situations that would have caused a great financial hardship to the school district. It wasn't just me choosing to go there. I was asked to move to help in these situations, not just for the children themselves, but to save some money. I have a varied background. I work in a lot of different organizations throughout my years here in Chico. I've been a supporter of many different organizations. I've volunteered for many, and it's time now that I am running for City Council to represent all of Chico. I can look in the audience, and I glanced at the people in the audience and saw people from lots of walks of life, and they all need that representation. I am running for City Council to make this place a safe, a vibrant, and a sustainable place so our children, our youth, our future can enjoy it just like ours did and like I did.
Thank you. Ms. Filmer will go next.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for putting this on for us tonight. I grew up in the city of Chico. I've been here most of my young life. I've been here all but 7 years of my life, and I'm only 44, so that goes to show my commitment to the community. I know what Chico is, and I know where Chico has been, and Chico's a great place to live, but Chico can be a better place to live. With the experience that I have growing up in Chico and knowing where Chico has been, as well as my private sector experience, public sector experience, and being a small business owner, those are it's a unique experience that not a lot of people have been able to have in their lifetime. And the things about Chico that are so important is us being able to be safe on our streets, our families being able to go downtown and go into areas of the city that they now feel unsafe doing so. Our city has issues as far as our public safety. We have a public safety problem that we need to address. We have a financial problem we need to address, and we have business challenges that we need to address with our business owners, as well as bringing other businesses into Chico and making it easy for them to do so. And I'm here because of those things that are so important within our community to make sure that we can provide those services to our community, because we live here and we want to be able to do the things that we were once able to go out and do on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Willis?
Thank you. My name is Rodney Willis. I'm running for Chico City Council. I hear about experience, and I'm going to ask this question. When the framers of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, how much experience did they have creating America? And I think they did a pretty good job. I've been an EMT and a CNA for 23 years. I've taken from delivering babies to helping somebody on hospice. And I have a humanistic view of that. There's 4 generations here. My mom's here, I'm here, my kids are here, my grandkids are here. I see the issues every day. I live on 15th and Oakdale between the Torrey's Homeless Shelter and the Jesus Center. Took my daughter to my granddaughter to Rotary Park the other day, 3 glass methamphetamine pipes, a bag of weed, and bottles, rousting people that are homeless and transients that has not been addressed by the individuals on this. If you're part of the problem, you're not part of the solution. I told Scott Grundle when I first ran against him 10 years ago that I would watch and wait. Well, I'm just going to ask this. Is Chico in a better position with public safety? Is Chico in a better position financially? Is Chico in a better position for street repair? Is Chico in a better position than it was 10 years ago? Probably not. You can take the accolades of being a leader, but you also have to take the hits for the choices you made in leadership. I'm an everyday person. I live paycheck to paycheck. That's what you need on City Council, somebody that's an everyday Joe. There is a lot of families living paycheck to paycheck, but there's no representation on the council. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now start asking questions of the candidates. We will start with a question from Mr. Gascoigne from the News and Review, and we will start in alphabetical order, starting with Ms. Arim Law.
Well, that leads right into the first question, obviously, a high-profile situation. What should or can be done about the downtown homeless, transient, down on their luck population that people talk about so much and seem to be so visible?
Well, community safety really is on many of Chicoans' minds. As our economy is improving, and as our economy improves, we will start hiring the staff that we had to let go. However, I did go to the task force, the homeless task force, and I see this problem as a community problem. And I believe that what we need to do, we have so many programs that are viable and wonderful. We just need to pull everyone together and identify a resource center. It could be the Torah Shelter, it could be Jesus Center, and just have one spot where we can bring folks that need help, that want help. I would speculate at least 50% of those folks out there are down and out and would need either some sort of rehabilitation of some sort, and that's what we need to provide these people.
Mr. Coolidge?
We have how long?
1 minute.
1 minute. All right. We'll try to make it quick then. All right. I actually divide the homeless problem into multiple issues. I think we have a homeless problem, which we have had and will continue to have. Every town has a homeless problem. Every town needs to apply resources to that problem. Every town needs to make sure that they take care of those people and treat them with respect. And I think, and I hope everybody here on the that sits with me would agree with that. The other problem that we have that is plaguing our downtown is a transient problem. The number one issue when I talk to people is about the transient issue. They're concerned about it and they want something done about it. So very quickly, to tell you what I want to do about it, is I want full enforcement of the sit-lie ordinance. I want to move quickly to cleaning up the problem. I want to have full enforcement that actually gets it done and moves us forward, so where we have a heightened period of enforcement where we send a message that we don't tolerate people who don't want to participate in creating a clean and safe Chico. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Filmer.
This is a great question, and one of the reasons why I chose to run for city council. We have a transient issue, and I'm not addressing the issues regarding people that need assistance. There's a lot of assistance out there for people, and people are utilizing those services. We have a very large population that's not interested in the services. They're not interested in being productive in our society, in our community, and we need to address those individuals. And I think that part of that is increasing our police force, making sure that we have police on the street in order to be able to enforce the rules and the laws that have been put into place, as well as making sure that we don't have encampments that could possibly cause fires, and those types of things. 40,000 pounds of garbage they picked up last weekend, and that is evident that we have a very large population of people that are just littering in our society.
Mr. Brundle?
I think we first got to look at what is the makeup of the population. It's a makeup of veterans, elderly, mentally ill, and foster youth, among others. We're doing a great job in dealing with veterans. We have elderly that are eligible for services that currently don't have full access to the services. That's the first population we can address. We have mentally ill that are also not getting access to services. We have a brand new mental health director in Butte County, so I am hopeful that that will change. But we have one of the highest foster youth populations and foster family populations in the entire state. There are a lot of folks that are taken care of until age 18 through 21, and they're not ready to be on their own. The result is they end up on the street. We are really dropping the ball on that front. Peel back all of those layers, that leaves a small core of individuals that we really should be focusing our law enforcement resources on.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
Yeah, as a school teacher for 20 years in some of the schools I was moved to address these issues, and Southside Oroville had a huge problem with poverty, gang problems. These are some of the kids who were some of the problem, a big part of the problem. And these kids are the kids that you guys see downtown who are getting in your face. To me, they were children, and they needed to be addressed. We need to support teachers in schools, the school board that was just up here, to address this and to educate people to deal with them adequately at a young age. We need to fund the police, absolutely. We need more police on the street, but some of these things do not need to take police time. Citing them, yes, but if it's not a police issue, we need the organizations like the Downtown Ambassadors and the Safe Schools, we need those to help to address this problem, because there is a problem downtown and we need to address it. Mr. Sorensen?
Well, first we have to separate the pieces, as many of the prior speakers did. We do have the homeless, we have mentally ill, a lot of different segments of this problem. Some of those probably don't get the level of service that they deserve. But Chico's always been a very, very generous city. We've always been very generous and supportive of things such as the Jesus Center and the tourist shelter and all of the faith-based efforts that are made. But then we've got this other segment that are, it's like the local version of European backpacking, these folks that are just traveling from town to town, and they're here for no good reason other than to just cause trouble. In many cases, they're predators on our homeless, and that is really a police issue, and we need to do a much better job of empowering our police, giving our police not only the support, but we do need to work on increased staffing as our finances allow us to do.
Thank you, Mr. Willis.
Simple to me. At the end of Park Avenue, there is a city-owned lot that has a chain on the fence. Open it up, designate that lot as this tent city. You funnel the people there. I'm not being callous, but I'm saying you give them an area to go. Then you enforce the sit-lie ordinance and the anti-panhandling ordinance. It's kind of ironic where the lot is. If you go straight down towards the Skyway, they have access to EDD, where they can get food stamps, cash aid, job retraining. They have internet access. Instead of just doing rhetoric, let's do solutions that are viable and real, and let's quit talking about it and let's do it.
Thank you. This next question will come from Mr. Elworth.
I don't know whether this is a lighter question or really a more serious question. Given the city's financial situation, the challenges that face in terms of finding ways to split dollars amongst entirely worthwhile activities that can't possibly get them, and the enormous, wonderful pay you get as a member of the City Council, why would anybody in their right mind want to be part of that body? And I don't want you to tell me about your goals and your significant, I want to know when you sat down with your spouse or your significant other and you said, I'm going to run, and they said, why? I want to know what your answer was.
And we will start with Mr. Coolidge for that.
Oh, that's fine, because my wife is right back there, Julia, and she looked at me and I think she said I was crazy, but because you do really put yourself out there. I mean, and this is a community, as many of you know, you're either on one side of the aisle or the other, and sometimes for the people up here, it can be a very hard thing, and we certainly don't treat our counselors with the amount of respect that they deserve. We go after them on a daily basis. So I have two small children, 8 and 12. I want a future for them here in Chico. I want to, have a city that they can be proud of. And the transient issues, the economic issues, that's one of the reasons why I'm running. So certainly not the pay.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer.
I like that question because obviously we're asked that a lot when we're running for a campaign. And the reason why I have chosen to run for city council was because of the experience that I have. I don't want to go into all the experience because we all know the experience that I have, but also the passion that I have for Chico. The first person that asked me that question when I thought about running, I said, because I remember the days that we had Pioneer Days. I remember the city that I had when I was a child. I remember being safe going downtown, not being concerned about what was going to happen or not happen. I remembered when people loved Chico, and that was the reason that we lived here, was because we loved the place we live in. And I know that Chico can be that place again, and it can be a better place, and that's why I chose to run for city council.
Thank you, Mr. Grundle.
when I was first elected to the city council, it changed from an ideology of conservative to progressive. And I do not want to have my seat be given up to allow that to switch back. That is a very critical issue for me. My life has been about helping people, and in this role as a council member and as a mayor, people ask for a lot of help, and you're in a position to be able to help folks improve their lives. But most of all, it's because of few and far between, but nonetheless, I get these cards that are full of hate, that tell me how bad of a person that I am, that how bad of a segment of society that I represent. And nobody in this community should ever get one of those. And so my job is to make sure that everyone in this community is represented.
Thank you. Ms. Molina?
That is a question that's asked a lot. And I was quoted once in the ER saying that I'm doing it for my children. If I was doing it for my children, I'd be at home with them right now. But I do have 4 children, and they all, 20-year-old daughter, an 18-year-old son, and 10-year-old twins. And they are so excited that I am doing this, because I've always been involved. Like I said earlier, I've been involved in so many different volunteer organizations across the spectrum, from sports, soccer, ballet, all different walks of life, cleaning in the park, working with the Chico Velo Cycling Club. And as my son said, you know, Mom, you put a lot of time and effort into these athletic and these school-related things. Making a big difference for the whole city of Chico is really impressive. And as my daughter said, you're a superhero now, Mom.
Mr. Sorensen.
Yeah, I think you'll have a chorus of very similar answers. Obviously, it's a love for the community, a great opportunity to give back to a community that's given me so many great opportunities over my entire lifetime, and raising 3 daughters in this town, and now so far 2 grandchildren that are just enjoying some of the great places that I got to grow up with.
Thank you. Mr. Willis?
I think the greatest thing that a human being can do is to serve another one with no thought of any what can it be for me. And I want to improve Chico, where I can walk down the street and look everybody in the eye and know that I enacted a positive change in their life, and that Chico is where people want to come, and it's vibrant and it's growing and it's a community. And that's not happening right now. And I think the greatest thing I can do is to serve each of you and everybody that's in Chico and look you in the eye and know at the end of the day that I gave 100%.
Thank you. Ms. Aramlaw?
Well, I'm excited about Chico's future. I think Chico's great. We have our problems, yes we do, but we're coming out of one of the largest, most difficult recessions. We've cut our staff immensely, and we're coming back, and we'll be back. I'm doing it because it's my time. I know I'm prepared, and I know I'm qualified. So I'm excited, and my family is behind me. I have my husband, and I have my 3 children at home, 20, 14, and 12. And I'm doing it because I came up here with my corporation, and Chico was what it was then. We are where we are today, and we're going to be a better Chico tomorrow. We just keep moving forward. We don't go back. We go forward.
Thank you. This first question is from the audience. And it is, there are 2 ballot measures, A and B, dealing with marijuana. What is your position? And we will start this question with Ms. Filmer.
I believe that Proposition 215 is for medical marijuana. There's not anything we can do at the local level, county or city, to address that. I think that it's important that council members are focusing on the things that we can make a change in. We can't outlaw marijuana at a local level, but we can make sure that we are focusing on the issues that may be involved as far as police safety, increasing our police force, making sure that we're focusing on the issues of the city, and that we are making sure that we're engaged with our businesses and our community to address the issues that we can address at a local level.
Thank you, Mr. Grundle.
So I have folks from both sides of the issue that are asking for my support, and I'll be meeting with one of those. Actually, I'll be talking to Maureen Kirk tomorrow, who's asked for my support in helping her. So at this point, I'm going to decline any specific answer to the question because I'm not done talking to either side and how I'm going to support or not support them. So it's unfortunately premature, and I apologize for the lack of response.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
Turn it on and then off. Sorry about that. Again, this issue is nothing that we can do here locally. It's a statewide issue. There are things we do locally, like we said, is supporting the local police just in that regard, but it is a statewide issue.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
Well, I'll quote former Sheriff Jerry Smith, A is awesome, B is bad. We can establish a situation where true medical users can grow what they need, but we need to shut down the Mexican cartels and the large commercial growing operations that are just wreaking ecological havoc in our rural areas, ruining property values, making people, normal homeowners, fearful for their safety just to do anything in and around their own homes. We need to take back our county from the cartels and the large commercial growers.
Mr. Willis?
We already have a multiplicity of problems in Chico, and if you want to look at the medical marijuana, go look at Colorado and all the problems that's happened in Colorado. And we don't need additional problems in Chico. I'm yes on A and no on B.
Thank you, Ms. Aram-Law.
Well, I am going to, I'm not quite sure yet, but I can tell you that I'm concerned about illegal pot growing in the out in the forest with possibly polluting our waters and such. So I'm still in the process of digesting these two, and I'm not quite ready to choose.
Thank you, Mr. Coolidge.
Let me do something that our council doesn't do too well, give a definitive answer. Yes on A, no on B. B is the ecological destruction of our county and needs to be stopped. Thank you.
Thank you. There's been a lot of discussion about funding police, the police department here in Chico. Do you advocate for fully funding our police? And if so, exactly how do you propose to affect that? And the first question that goes to Mr. Grundle.
So specifically, the answer is yes. To define that specificity, it would be the staffing plan that the council recently adopted, thanks to citizens who got together and worked directly with the police department to develop that plan rather than adhering to a formula. They came up with what the actual need is. It's a multi-year plan that we would fund over 3 years, and we're prepared to do that, and we'll actually fund it. So that is what I expect to see it for the police department.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
Can you restate the question?
There's been a lot of discussion regarding funding of the police department. Do you support fully funding the police department? And if so, what policies would you put into effect to make that happen?
Yes, absolutely. And how to do it. Looking at the budget, as he just mentioned, there is a plan in place right now. But if we're looking at the general fund, 80% of that budget does go to salaries and benefits. So we do have to look into the salary and benefit packages, making sure that the police are paid adequately, and addressing that as well. But there is a plan in place, and that's set up. So yes, I'm fully.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
Well, we certainly have staffing challenges, there's no question of that, but we also have a lot of things that we need to invest in so that our police officers are far more efficient. We have a very antiquated and defective CAD RMS system, that's the computer-aided dispatch records management system that they use. That is their computerized system that runs their lives, and the one that they have been hobbled with for so many years is beyond belief. Unfortunately, it's about $1 million investment that we absolutely need to make so that we're more efficient, among many other things. But as the opportunities present themselves, we've already noticed a pretty healthy increase in sales tax this year, probably something on the order of a couple $100,000. We're hoping at this time. There's the opportunity that we'll have incrementally as new revenues or revenues begin to come back to direct those towards police. Plus, we also have to make some decisions about many of the other things that we pay employees to do and make some decisions about whether those are more important than staffing the police.
Thank you. Mr. Willis?
Well, I educated myself by going and talking to Frank Fields, the Chief Financial Officer, and asking him what this plausibility, his thought process was of raising the sales tax ½ cent. He said over a year it would bring in $9 million. That goes to the general fund. It's up to discretion of the City Council to disperse those funds. We had 26 graduates from the Butte County Law Enforcement Academy. Out of 26, one came to Chico. Why? Because their pay is $9 less an hour than Reading, and they have 70,000 people for a population. Chico has 88,000. When the students come back from Chico State and Butte, it's up to 104,000. That means there's one police officer every 2,713 people. That's not acceptable.
Thank you. Ms. Aramlaw?
Well, we have a great police force, and I completely support them and would like to provide them the personnel that they need. But we are still coming out of our recession, and with the rising tide, all boats rise. And as we move along, they will definitely get their personnel. But in the interim, I think that what the police they need our support. They need our support. We have other resources that we can tap into. I know I spoke at the last forum that we had regarding possibly expand the Chico State police area, grow that a little bit, and help the police with that, and spread that burden a bit more.
Thank you, Mr. Coolidge.
While we wait, people's lives are being ruined over and over and over again. Everybody in this room understands what the crime is doing to this town. Gang units, cut, no longer in existence. Participation in regional drug enforcement agencies, cut, no longer in existence. Street crime units, cut. Mounted patrols, cut. School resource officer, cut. Youth outreach, cut. If you look to your left and your right, there are city priorities for the people of this city. And the first thing on that list is public safety. We need to get moving. This is not an issue we can wait to address. This is an issue we need to address now. I'm sure everybody's seen the headlines. I've got 15 seconds to tell you. Crime up in 2012, 2013. Our town is being terrorized by crime. And our council needs to understand that and do something about it immediately.
Thank you, Ms. Fulmer.
I'm getting Facebook posts every single day of the transient issue in the city of Chico. And what that comes back to is supporting our police officers and making sure that they have the staff and the support in order to take the action that they need to. Whether that requires reallocating some of the funds, selling properties in the city of Chico so that we can fund our police department. As sales revenues increase, we need to make sure that those are being put in the places in which we need them right now, rather than to other services. We need to make sure we're getting back to our basic and essential functions and services that we should provide. And as Coolidge says, public safety is our #1 priority. We should be making it our #1 priority in our budget as well for the safety of our community.
Thank you. And this next question will come from Mr. Gascoigne. And Ms. Molina will be the first to answer.
Okay, should the city continue to look to outsource services and jobs, such as it did with the city attorney? And is that working out, I wonder? But anyway.
So, are you talking about just the city attorney or all types of?
All types, other types to explore more. That city attorney is an example of one that has been done. Tree service, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. There are some times when we do need to look to outsource a job, especially if we were in the situation where we were and they needed to look outside because there was something going on and it seemed to be going over some people's heads. There are a lot of resources right here in this area, and there's a lot of very educated people in this area. We have a university right in this town. And so first, before looking to go outside and outsource and pay somebody less than somebody is right here, they need to look at what we have right here to build our local economy and support local people right here. And that further builds our economy.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
The answer is yes. We should always look at that as an option, when and where it makes sense, when it gets us the best quality, best price proposition. In the example that you used, we needed greater objectivity, greater independence. And not only that, I think, well, I don't think, I know, my gosh, we used to spend $800,000 to $1.2 million a year on city attorney services. We cut that dramatically, and I believe that our quality increased, speed increased, and the city is getting much better representation. There's many opportunities where we always need to look at that. There are many cities in this state that actually contract the majority of their functions, and this gives them the ability to periodically go out and look for competing bids to provide certain specified services. So we would be just completely remiss in our duty if we did not occasionally look at that as an option and see when and where it's viable.
Thank you. Mr. Willis?
I believe outsourcing is a viable thing. One of the things that they maybe need to look at outsourcing is signing a contract with CAL FIRE to provide fire protection for the city of Chico, saving on negotiations with the union and overtime. If you can bring quality people in, if you can provide better services for the citizens of Chico, then it's a good thing. But you know, if you have a wealth of talent in here and you disregard them, then they're going to go somewhere else. So,
Ms. Aramlaw?
Yes, I agree that it should be a viable option, but I am a proponent of having people that have skin in the game, especially in high-profile positions. The city attorney, I'm sure he's a fine attorney, but I would certainly would prefer to have his children in my school with my kids and have his investments here in Chico as well. So I think it's I think definitely let's take a look at it, but let's keep it local. Let's keep it local, and we're a community, and let's work on this together.
Thank you, Mr. Coolidge.
Obviously, I believe we need the best. However, I do favor a 10% bid incentive for local companies, basically because if we can do equal work here, it's certainly in our advantage to use local. We often promote local. Our idea is to have a council which operates on a local level. We need to follow that through by having and hiring local companies when it is appropriate. Obviously, it needs to be appropriate and they need to be equally qualified or better qualified. In terms of city services, I believe we could use some of our local resources to contract out some of those city services. I think it would be done in a very limited basis. I don't necessarily think that we should dismantle our city, nor should we have private sector entirely run our city, but I do believe there are certain aspects which would be excellent to look at and where we could save some money.
Ms. Fulmer?
I've worked with several cities that have contracted out, one city in particular that contracted out over 80% of their services when they were close to going bankrupt. It resolved the city from being able to, it prevented them from having to claim bankruptcy, and it saved their city. Now their revenues are coming back, so they're able to start hiring staff again, which I think is really important. So sometimes contracting out is the best option when you have a fiscal deficit, as we do. I also think it's important that we remember that contracting out, you have to negotiate that with the unions. You have to make sure that you are not contracting out labor group work. So employees, it's something that has to be negotiated. The other thing is being careful not to contract out things where we have significant issues and concerns at this point in time, because you do lose some control once you contract out services. So I think it's definitely something we need to look at, but we need to be mindful that we must negotiate and work with the unions to do that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Grundle?
I think it depends on a number of things. It depends on the potential for the savings, and it depends on the level of service that we would get in return for that. So I think the city attorney is a great example. I was very skeptical going into that process, but I honestly can say that it turned out great. And the reason for that is, number one, the savings is significant. We get a depth of the bench that we didn't have, unfortunately, with full-time staff. But most importantly, we had a lack of self-interest. So what that means is council has 3 employees, a city manager, a city attorney, and a city clerk, and they all operate on the same contract. In the process of negotiating one of those contracts, I watched our contract city attorney go to bat for council and represent our point of view in that negotiation. That had never, ever happened. Why? Because he had no interest in any one of those 3 contracts himself, and it made a huge, huge difference. And I'll stop there.
Thank you. This next question will come from Mr. Alworth, and Mr. Sorensen will be the first to answer.
I'm technically challenged. In December, Chico loses its commercial airliner. What should the city council, what role should the city council have in that situation?
Well, we had a meeting on that very subject right here last night. I don't remember what time we got out of here. I guess it was early. It was 7:30. So yeah, it was on time. We do need to take a leadership role in quantifying what our market looks like so that we can at least present that market and what we think the flight demand is to potential carriers. Bottom line, it's going to come down to our market's ability and our proximity to Sacramento, which is one of our likely disadvantages. We're, just a short 90-minute drive, or about 90-minute drive from Sacramento. And it's really up to an airline to determine whether they can bring in the proper level of equipment and employees and deliver a service and be able to turn a profit. So our role is really just to make sure that we can go out and quantify what it is that we have to offer in terms of a commercial market. And we do need to bring in some expertise. We're looking at the concept of having an airport manager for the first time in many years. We really do need somebody with the aviation experience who understands the aviation businesses and tries to help us determine which market segments that we might actually fit in with.
Thank you. Mr. Willis?
I think it's just the airline is supply and demand. If we don't have the passengers, the airline's going to go away. We've seen that. It's also information and getting the word out. When it comes to flying out of Chico, it was never in my thought process. It's going to San Francisco, it's going to Sacramento. If you went and talked to Chico State students or most of the residents in Chico, none of them would have said, I'm going to go fly out of Chico for the most part. And it's about getting the information out, getting awareness, and merchandise, selling the point. This is a viable way to travel, but right now it's people don't even think about it.
Thank you. Mrs. Erimlaw?
Well, the Airport Commission is part of council's responsibility, and I think that council definitely needs to lead on this. And I was here last night as well. And I am in full support of the direction that council and in collaboration with the chamber and the Airport Commission, the direction they're going in, which is a feasibility report and reviewing the airport management applications. There were 2 of them that were submitted, and then the third one was a temporary charter, commercial charter, and what that would look like. And all of this is all preliminary work, and that's very smart work. So I think that I think it's fantastic that Chico has an airport. I would love to hang on to it. That was one of the reasons why we moved up here from our company from the Bay Area when we constructed our almost 58,000 square foot manufacturing facility. So I would be ashamed to lose it. So I am all about keeping it and doing our best to keep it.
Thank you, Mr. Coolidge.
We need passengers. That's what we need. Get an airline, you need passengers. You have to have people to fly on the flights so the business will come. We need to deal with issues regarding problems before they're problems. And this is what I would like to see, as a forward-thinking council that anticipates that we might possibly lose our air carrier and what we can do to prevent it rather than playing catch-up. What we absolutely need, and we should welcome, is an airline, and we should do what we can. It would certainly have been a lot easier to do it while we still had an airline. So now we're in the position of playing catch-up. Chico State does use, international students use the airport quite often. It is a huge resource for us, and I think that the city needs to put some effort behind that, but I think the council needs to take a definitive stance and not put it off to committee, but move forward to get real solutions, find an airline, and then work with them before it's an issue of losing them again.
Thank you, Ms. Filmer.
It's really important to businesses. If it's really important to the businesses in the city of Chico, we need to allow the free market to dictate whether we have an airport. However, we need to make sure that we bring in those businesses to the city of Chico. We work with the businesses that we do have in the city of Chico to make sure that they know that they can grow their business, bring their business to Chico, expand their business, keep their businesses in Chico, and that they have a safe community to do so, a safe environment. So we need to increase public safety, and those things, as far as an airport, the free market will dictate whether we continue to have an airport or somebody comes in, but we need the businesses to be able to support it, and we need to focus on the basics before we do that.
Thank you, Mr. Brendel.
Chico's business community is actually growing at a phenomenal rate. The airport is clearly part of that and will be part of that moving forward. Absolutely no doubt. Council's role, first and foremost, is to remind the public how important the airport is. That is why the commission and council was ahead on this issue and had already done some of the work that needed to be done at the time that the airlines made their announcement. Our role moving forward is to make sure people stay on task and that they stay within their role so we don't step on each other's toes. I think it's important that we demonstrate to potential investors in the process of landing a new airline at the airport that they will reach success and their investment is worthwhile. I think we also should pre-sale those flights as much as possible to demonstrate not only is there money available for a future airline, but that there is a commitment to it. And I think there's lots of opportunity for where we go, such as LAX, Portland, Salt Lake City, places we don't normally think of, where there's lots of opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
Yes, we do need to quantify what the need is here, but we do need the airport here. We have an award-winning Chamber of Commerce, and they are working together with the council and the Airport Commission. We need to bring it back. They need to look at the market. Yes, absolutely. But we need to work together. There's a plan that's moving forward now, and I've heard it likened from an economist friend of mine to like a mall. They need to have the structure, the airport, the outside like the mall, and then the inside, and we need the city staff and the commission to help us with that. The inside are like the little stores that are in there, and those are the customers. And so it's more complex than it seems on the outside. So you do need a very educated person with an airline background to come in and help with this problem, because it's not something that an everyday person just reading minutes can solve on their own.
Thank you. Robert Speer recently wrote an editorial suggesting a different structure of city government consisting of citywide elected mayor and 6 council members elected by district. Would you support this scheme, and why or why not? And Mr. Willis is first.
I would support the creation of 7 districts where each council member is assigned a district. When it comes to election time, only the voters in that district are allowed to vote for the council members, because it means boots on the ground where you're going and you're checking. You know what's wrong with your street. You know what's streets, crime, neighborhoods. If there's buildings that are abandoned, they go door to door and know what the concerns are for the constituents in each of the districts instead of being unilateral. I think that money buys council seats. I really believe that. And this would actually equal the playing field. I feel like a zebra run against thoroughbreds in the Kentucky Derby when it comes to finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aramlaw.
No, I don't support that. I don't think Chico, being originally from LA and then through the Bay Area and coming to Chico, which is an island, a small island of the city of Chico is 100,000 residents. I like the way things are. I like the way that we have our election process. We are building community. We're building community right now. So I think, no, I don't support it.
Thank you. Mr. Coolidge?
I think at this point in time, with the size of our city, it's not an option that we should look at. I think as we grow and move towards our future, maybe it is something we can explore at a later date.
I believe that our city needs to stay with the basics right now and focus on those things that we need to fix, which is public safety, our fiscal situation, as well as helping businesses and rolling out the red carpet to businesses in the city of Chico.
Mr. Grendel?
I'm not sure exactly if an elected mayor and 6 council members is the appropriate model, but there's absolutely no doubt that the city manager council form of government is beginning to outlive its usefulness. This is ultimately a decision that will be made by higher levels of government as to what replaces that model, although there are decisions we can make on our own. But clearly, there is something we should focus on, which is being more transparent and making sure as much information as possible is available to the public, and using technology to allow greater engagement by our citizenry, which will result in greater participation. That we can definitely improve, and that I'm 110% behind.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
It is, we are still smallish city, so we're not quite there. Although it did come up when I first was addressing whether to run or not, that Chico is getting a little bigger than when I grew up here. There are other things that has been addressed already from everyone on this board that we need to work on to make sure we're meeting the needs of all the different areas of Chico, making sure that it's safe not just for one area of the population, not just one side of town, but the others, that it's vibrant for everybody in Chico, and you're meeting the needs of all walks of life in this town.
Thank you. Mr. Sorensen?
Yeah, I would definitely support districts. However, I wouldn't have any support at all for any kind of a strong mayor form of government. I think we'd be trading one problem for, I think, a worse set of problems. The current form, and really any form, is subject to problems if you don't have a council with the ability, the skills, the aptitude, and the willingness to do their oversight role. You know, that's, in the most recent experience, that's really where we fell down.
Chico residents seem permanently discouraged about attracting more jobs to Chico. Is there anything that the City Council can actually do to really increase the number of good jobs in Chico? And this goes to Ms. Ariamlaw.
Well, yes, we can. And we can by believing that we can. And right now, I know the Chamber of Commerce is really working very hard. Really impressive programs that they're putting together. When we moved up here, the Economic Development Department, SEPCO, was phenomenal. And that's why we moved up here. So the council is here to support its citizens and to support programs that will help us grow. So I think that supporting the chamber and the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and businesses, local businesses, and providing incentives, an expedient permit process is what would be under our jurisdiction.
Thank you. Mr. Coolidge?
Well, there's several things we can do, and so I think the answer is pretty simple, is yes, we can. I produce the Chico Home and Garden Show and work with in the fall, and work with the Soroptimist in producing it in the spring. And I can tell you, I meet with about 300 to 400 businesses a year in Chico. And our small businesses are the ones that are having a hard time. It's our small businesses that we often ignore because they can't come to a council meeting, they can't make their opinions known, they're one or two guys or gals working in a shop and doing what they need to from 9 to 5 every day. So we need to look at the essential problems first. I believe we do need to draw and look at bringing in out-of-town businesses, and we need an active council in doing that. I think that's very important that our council is active in participating in that. However, our permit process right now for local companies needs help. The construction industry, the industries that support that industry, the process now for remodels, things along those lines in that department in the city is 7 to 10 weeks out. on any particular project.
Thank you, Ms. Filmer.
Yes, I believe that we need to support our businesses, make sure that our businesses feel that they have a safe place to bring their business, make sure that the businesses that are currently in Chico know that their employees are safe and that they want to bring their business to Chico, they want to be able to expand. The other side of that, however, is that we are continuing to make our business owners come to council meetings after meeting after meeting and fill the room with over 600 people when they should be out running their businesses or at least spending time with their family. They're small business owners. Being a small business owner, I spend a lot of time working 12, 15-hour days, and to have to come to a council meeting at the end of the day to make sure that I'm heard is very discouraging, and we need to support our businesses to not have to do those types of things.
Thank you, Mr. Grendel.
So I find this statement somewhat difficult to fully believe, because during the period that I've been mayor, not taking responsibility for it, because a number of good organizations in this community are responsible for it, and that's the creation of 1,800 jobs. And that's phenomenal. I have directly participated with local business leaders in developing a tech development strategy that specifically focuses on managed business services, which is all about going after businesses that support the big fish, not going after the big fish themselves. It's been highly successful. It includes involving the business community, but it also includes involving the university and especially the students. I go to businesses when they need help. Likewise, I think the city's very responsive in that regard. It's why we dissolved our Economic Development Committee and got behind Team Chico 100%, because we're a team member, we're part of the team, and the team is making the difference.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
Yes, the council can do and should be doing something about it. There have been a big growth in jobs recently, but it needs to continue to grow. The local universities can help a lot with stimulating the IT industry, and that has been done recently. There's a lot of, I know, college students who have graduated, and jobs are hard to find, but they're starting to find some right here in town with the local businesses. Right here downtown, there's some that employ a growing number of students who have graduated. It's not just that. we do need to provide some incentives and make the process easier for businesses to get started. Once they're here, we need to support clean industries. Mom and pop shops are wonderful, and I support them fully, but that alone won't sustain Chico. We need to bring some clean, bigger industries to town that can provide more jobs for everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
Yeah, there's a lot the city can do, but really it's up to businesses. I have two daughters working at a couple of Chico's larger upstart businesses, and we were really fortunate that Chico had the facilities and the infrastructure that allowed them to grow. Most notably, we need to have land use, planning, building departments, and approval processes, though, that enable those businesses to move swiftly. You know, again, I spent years in corporate America and starting branch offices in various places in the Southwest, and usually we had to have an operation up and running somewhere between 18 and 24 months. And I look at some of the businesses that have had some really bad experiences in Chico, and I can tell you, if we'd have gotten wind that that's how it goes, we wouldn't come here. And we do have some reputation problems that we still need to work on when it comes to new development. So there's a lot that the city can do.
There's a lot the city can do, and I don't think that you can limit yourself to thinking small. My question is this. Chico State has a computer science program that we have people planted 4, 5, 6 years in the community. They're already planted. We have a wealth of talent. Why don't we invite Microsoft, Google, Facebook on a large basis and get those people employed? There's 300 people in the Google IT. That's 300 people that could purchase houses, 300 people that their kids go to our schools. Why are we only picking up with the little fish and not taking the big fish? If we go after the big ones, the ancillaries will come. It's a win-win for Chico. We need to think outside the box and not be limited in our thinking.
Thank you. This next question will come from Mr. Gascoigne, and Mr. Coolidge will be the first to answer.
excuse me, do you support the hiring of private security guards for the downtown around the holidays as was done last year?
Well, the only reason I wouldn't is because I'd like our own police force to enforce all the laws in the downtown. That was obviously done in response to the fact that we have a transient problem downtown that the business owners felt was important enough that they had to go and hire private security to do that. At the end of the day, our police officers should be doing that job.
I think there's something wrong with our city when we're having to go out and hire private security guards to walk the streets of downtown or do any place in Chico. I think that private security guards have their place. When I'm hearing from the Circle K over on Nord Avenue that they have a contract with a security company because our police are unable to respond to calls and able to make it to calls when they do need somebody urgently, they call the security agency instead of using our own police department. We are taxpayers. We pay for our police to protect us, to serve us, and if we have to hire a security company, that is not what our taxpayer money should be is being used for, is police safety.
Thank you, Mr. Grendel.
So I think first and foremost that property owners are certainly entitled to what they'd like to do with their property, and in this instance that's exactly what happened. It is unfortunate that it had to happen, and I think last season there really was a combination of a number of factors that led to what could be labeled as success during the end of that period, because there were a lot of things were done to help deal with the situation at that time. And in response to what's been said before me, I'm happy to be able to say that we are going to commit additional officers to the downtown area, starting right about yesterday and continuing through the holidays, including a bike patrol. So the city is actually dedicated to making sure that that happens.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
Yes, again, what private people want to do with their own, they can do that. However, it is distressing when you think that they would have to feel like they'd need to do that. The bike patrols, the foot cops, those things have a bigger impact than cops just driving by on the street, as do anyone getting out and positively populating the city, walking, riding your bike around. That's going to increase safety. The less crime is committed, not that it's all not committed, because there's been situations where it has been, but when they're out there on the streets and they're not just in their cars, or we're not just in our cars isolated. So the bike cops and the walking patrol is going to be a very positive thing for those businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
Yeah, it's a clear sign that we haven't done an adequate job of providing security ourselves as a city. Do those property owners have a right to do exactly what they're doing? Yes, it's absolutely a matter of survival. And it's just another sign that we're losing our downtown. You know, already rents are low. Some folks view that as a good thing, but it's not a good thing. They're low because of the adverse conditions that downtown business owners have to navigate to try to make a decent living. And unfortunately, the rents are so low that then property owners cannot afford to do the kind of investment that I think a lot of us would like to see in this city. This is just another sign of not just the transient problem, but it's certainly a big component of it where we really have to get under control, and it's absolutely up to the city to do it, and it's up to the city council to support the police in those efforts, not just monetarily, but support them.
Thank you, Mr. Willis.
Well, it looks like they had to pay twice out of their pocket. Once when they paid taxes, and the second time when they paid for private security. It's their right to pay for private security, but the council dropped the ball by not ensuring that there was adequate police there. That's the bottom line. We should feel safe. They shouldn't worry about their property. They shouldn't worry about not having customers going there. If the council would have funded and had adequate police there, this would not have even been an issue. We wouldn't have even seen private security.
Thank you, Ms. Aramla.
Yes, I just really, you know, I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, you know, we don't have the money. We haven't had the money, so we just had these cuts. So we have a shortage. You have a shortage, someone picks up the ball. The business owners picked it up. I'm sorry, it's unfortunate, but we're coming back. But what and the topic is primarily on the homelessness, and that whole the problem that we have downtown that we can't ignore. I would like to see advocacy, face-to-face advocacy with the folks that need help. We walk by, we just look at them, we talk about them, we complain to one another. We need to be able to approach them, and we need to be able to reach out to them, to help those that need to be helped, and allow the police to tend to those that may cause some harm, which are probably a very small percentage, but we need to approach them. So that's it. They're not an outside entity. They're part of our community, and we need to help them.
Thank you. And the last question tonight will come from Mr. Alworth, and Ms. Fillmore will be the first to answer.
I think all of us would agree that one of the jewels in Chico's crown is Bidwell Park. Right now, Bidwell Park has a number of situations where you see facilities closed and locked, roads closed and locked, opportunities to access it. I like to ride my bicycle, but if I didn't, I would have a hard time getting into some places in the park. How should the city be responding to the needs of Bidwell Park?
You're right, and that is one of the jewels of the city of Chico, and that's exactly why I've come back both times. One of the biggest reasons I have come back both times. It comes back to the fact that we have a $20 million deficit because we had a council that wasn't paying attention to the budget, making sure that funds were being used correctly. We have a $20 million deficit that could be out there fixing our parks, that could have made sure that we have the public safety on the streets that we needed. And we need to make sure that we get back to the basics so that we can start making sure that our park is clean and available for people, that people feel safe when they go in there. If we get back to the basics, we look at our budget, we make sure that we're allocating funds where we have the necessary, where we need to, and where the issues are currently, then we can get back to taking care of the basics like our parks, making sure that we have our bike paths, making sure that we are sustainable, whether it be economically sustainable, socially, or environmentally.
Thank you, Mr. Grandel.
Well, because we don't have a $20 million deficit, and because the finances of the city have begun to turn around, first and foremost, I think we stick to our plans, which is a complete makeover of Caper Acres, because we owe that to the next generation, and that's well underway. And then I think we focus on opening specific facilities, and what I mean by that are facilities such as bathrooms that folks find locked more often than not, and make those facilities open, and then lastly begin to open the roads and the rest of the park itself. And I think we could be in full swing by the spring at the latest.
Thank you, Ms. Molina.
Yeah, absolutely. Bidwell Park is a jewel, and I was finally able to purchase my own house. We bought one right near the park, and it is a jewel, and we do need to protect it, and we do need to open it and have it accessible to all. The bathrooms are closed. They just built those things, and they're these beautiful bathrooms, if you can call them that. They are, and you can't use them. And so a lot of people have asked me over the years when they found out, I mean, just as I volunteer for a lot of athletics in sports, from kids to adults, they ask me, why do you think the bathrooms are closed? They just built the things. Can't they open again? Yeah, there's money. If we are looking at the average income in Chico, it's about $40,000. Average city worker's income is about $60,000. The manager is over $200,000. If a little bit of that money was used to open up the bathrooms, everyone could access and go potty in private.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I want to follow that one up, but yeah, unfortunately, it is another sign of really our council's failure to provide the proper financial oversight. We can argue about what the debt was. I think where the $20 million comes from, that's the $20 million that we deficit spent from 2007 till 2012. in a lot of different enterprise funds, and we ended up getting the bill and having to pay for that with our reserves and our general fund, and now we have a $7 million deficit in that general fund, and we've got a lot of empty reserve funds that were there to support equipment replacement, building maintenance, a lot of other things that were drained to perpetuate the financial charade. Unfortunately, there are no quick answers. There are no silver bullets. We are just going to have to systematically direct new revenues as they come back in that direction. And as I said about the police, there's a lot of city functions that I think we need to really rethink about their necessity versus things like police and parks.
Mr. Willis?
Well, I have a special affinity to Bidwell Park because my 13-month-old nephew died, so he has a brick. His name's Jason. It's at Cape Acres. I run and ride through the park. I think part of the failure is myself as a citizen of Chico not volunteering to help in there. People in Chico have to step up and help. The council, yeah, they have a budget problem and they didn't allocate funds, but it's also personal responsibility. If I'm going to go enjoy the park, I need to be part of the reason. Go clean the bathroom, go pick up trash, rake leaves. I mean, I think it's not just pointing fingers at the council of dropping the ball, but getting community involvement to be part of the solution.
Thank you, Ms. Aramlaw.
All right. There have been problems. We've had problems with our budget, and they've been explored. And it wasn't, no crimes were committed, but we're rebounding. And since last year this time, our sales taxes have increased. I think it was like 7.9%. So again, we're doing better. The park is our jewel, and it was really heartbreaking to see the gates locked and the toilets closed. But I know that we're going to be coming back, and I believe in that, and I believe in us. So specifically, what am I going to do when I become city council is when the money is available, we're going to start opening stuff up. And we're going to start cleaning the creeks out, and we're going to continue to work on the encampments and clearing those out as well. We're going to do it all. We don't just do one thing, we do all of them at the same time.
Thank you, Mr. Coolidge.
I think people in Chico just don't have a basic understanding, and I'm part of this group, of how difficult it is to unlock a park gate every day. I mean, I understand it'll cost some money. We need an employee to do it, but you know, I'll do it. I'm sure the council will do it. It seems relatively simple to unlock a park gate. How about we, like 5 Mile being locked? How about we just don't lock it and leave it open? We certainly have patrols through there occasionally. Someone's jumping the fence, but parents are having to park along the road and walk through a locked gate because the council seems to be wanting to make it some kind of, which I don't understand either, statement about it. It should be a priority. It's certainly not as big a priority as our policing in that aspect and our public safety, but it is something that we should make a priority, and it seems, at least I think to the common person, very simple.
Thank you. We will now do closing statements. Closing statements will be given in the opposite order that opening statements were given. So Mr. Willis gave the last opening statement, so he will start with his closing statement. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
First, thank you to the League of Women's Voters for having this forum, giving us an opportunity to talk. I hear about experience, so I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. I was sailor of the quarter on an aircraft carrier. That means that I was the best sailor of 6,000 sailors in aircraft carriers, so I must have a little bit of leadership. People that follow you into battle, you must have a little bit of leadership. I ran a hospital supply system. I knew to the last bandage where it was. That's accountability. I ran 5 different budgets for this hospital. This Vencor Corporation had over 400 hospitals. I think that leadership, you lead by example. When you do a good job, you take the accolades. But when you do a bad job, or you screw up, or you made bad decisions, you stand up and take the hits. You don't deflect it. You don't call it rhetoric. You just be a man or a woman and stand up and say, hey, I made a mistake. I learned from it. You go on. You need vision. You need passion. You need pride. You need to have a servant's heart. You need to be humble and grateful when you're appointed on the council, And you need to remember that the council serves the people don't serve the council. I'm just an everyday guy. If you find it in your heart to vote for me on November 4th, I'll be honored and blessed. God bless each of you. Have an incredible day.
Thank you. Ms. Filmer?
Thank you for coming this evening, and thank you for the League of Women Voters for having us. And we had some great questions tonight, and answered a lot of, there's a lot of good ideas and things that have been mentioned. Back to just the basics, and that's what I'm about, is I think it's time for a change to make sure that what happened in our city does not happen again. We increase our public safety. We make sure that our businesses feel that they are getting the red carpet. We're cutting through the red tape to not make it so difficult for our businesses to come into Chico, to stay in Chico, and want to grow in Chico. Also making sure that we are economically sound and that we have a good fiscal budget, and making sure that our families are able to enjoy the streets of Chico, no matter it's South Chico, downtown Chico, our city plaza, in which our taxpayers paid for our city plaza, and a lot of people feel that they are uncomfortable to use that area. It's important that our community feels safe again, and that we provide the services that we need to do that. And that's increasing public safety. It's about not going backwards. The city has had the police staffing plan for almost a year now. It has taken almost a year to implement the plan that was proposed. It's very important that we don't wait a year to make those changes, that we don't take another year to make sure that we make improvements in our downtown area, in our south area, north area, everywhere in Chico. Public safety is a #1 priority, making sure that we're fiscally responsible so that we don't have public safety issues again, and make sure that our community feels safe and is able to do the things they were once able to do. Thank you, and I hope you consider Renette Filmer for City Council on November 4th.
Thank you. Ms. Molina?
Yes, thank you to everyone here who attended and submitted the great questions, and the League, not just for this, but for what you've done for over the years, and for all voters and informing us. I'm one of 12 children, and I've been active my whole life, as a lot of you have. And this is an honor to be here, to be a part of this. For years, coming down to the city council meetings, just trying to get a little part back as much as I can. Now, in running for city council, I feel like this is a next step up that I need to do to help out the city. I will be the prudent financial watchdog. I have this little book by my phone where I keep all of my bills. You can track my PG&E bill back to 1990, my water bill, my phone bill, everything there. I am a frugal person. That was my nickname in college and in my senior year in high school. Because I don't want to nickel and dime stuff, but again, yes, I do, because I want the monies for what we need the monies for. And there are specific needs that this city really needs now to keep it a beautiful place. Chico is magnificent. I met my husband here. We've been married for over 20 years, 22 years. And my 4 children were born here. My 20-year-old daughter, 18-year-old son, and my 10-year-old twins. They love it here. I want to keep Chico beautiful. And I will do that by watching the fine lines in the detail. It's a lot of work. I'm ready to do my homework for everybody here, for all of us, not just my kids, but for the future, for children. And I wanted to leave you with one last thing. Again, I mentioned this before, but if you look at funds, the governor of California makes about $174,000. Our city manager makes over $200,000. Just leaving you with that thought. Faru Maria Molina, City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Coolidge.
So thank you to the League tonight for everything you do. We really appreciate it in our community. Thank you to our esteemed gentlemen for their questions. We also appreciate that. You've heard from people today who have different ideas and visions for Chico. At the end of this election, you will choose just 3 of us to represent you. People you can trust to spend your tax dollars in the most efficient and effective ways. I'm asking for your vote and support to strengthen our public safety instead of having rising crime, to return our city budget to surpluses instead of mismanaging our tax dollars, and to restore a city which respects the voices of the people and holds themselves accountable to those people. My name is Andrew Coolidge, and I'm asking for your support and vote. I own and produce the Chico Home and Garden Show, and I am the sponsorship coordinator for the Silver Dollar Fair. I am also currently a director on the Butte County Fair Board, where we've had some tremendous successes in the last couple of years. I've served on a local charter school board, and also chaired one of the largest PTAs in the county. I have depth and knowledge and experience on how to successfully handle and manage large organizations and budgets through both my business and community involvement, which I have gained those. My wife Julia is a part-time instructor at both Chico State and Butte College, and we have 2 children, 8 and 12. I appreciate your time and thank you for your questions. And I also appreciate your concern for our city. If you have any questions at this forum which were not answered, please call me, 864-VOTE, 864-8683. I'd be happy to talk to anyone here, whether you have a differing opinion or a similar opinion at any point in time. Thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you. Mr. Grundle?
$20 million, $15.2 million, and now $7.8. Our deficit is being turned around. Our pay down plan for the next 10 years most likely looks like $800,000 rather than the $1.5 million that we were planning for. And the financial health of the city leads me to believe that that payment plan will be less than 10 years significantly. This means that we can take immediate action that is positive to improve the city, including the assignment of dedicated bike patrol to the downtown now to address concerns with safety. And I'll work to make good on our existing promises, including implementing our 4-month and 1-week-old police staffing plan, and stay committed to our priority of law enforcement, continue to nurture and maintain partnerships created to address this situation, such as Team Chico, Clean and Safe, and the university, to name a few, and will continue to address the matter of homelessness. I've helped execute a business expansion and recruitment strategy focused on jobs needed to keep our 20 and 30-something-year-olds gainfully employed so that they're able to remain in Chico as young professionals and raise their families. Lastly, I seek 100% diversion of the city's waste stream, and this is as much a conservative issue as it is a liberal issue, in that the cost of the landfill clearly demonstrates that there's no market to support the endeavor, and the time is now to put an end to burying our garbage in the ground. This will result in cost reductions to the private market for materials, expands the value of recycling, creates new forms of energy, and not only spurs innovative entrepreneurialism, it becomes a model for the rest of the world. You know what you get with Scott Grundle. My record and my platform are perfectly clear. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Sorensen?
Well, again, thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. You know, as a person who grew up in this great community, owned a business here for 22 years, spent decades working for nonprofits and both on governing boards and just as a regular volunteer, former planning commission member, 4-year council member, I ask for your vote for Chico City Council. I would love to return and keep up the hard work. But the job on the city council is a lot more than just politics. There's hard work involved. It's a $100 million a year municipal corporation that needs folks with good business experience, financial experience, folks with the abilities, the skills, the aptitude, and the interest to do the hard work of oversight. And I hope that you'll really give careful thought to that, because you do have some very, very important decisions to make. There's a lot of hard work left to go. And again, I look very forward to returning for another 4 years. So I ask for your vote for Chico City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Arimlaw?
Yes, hi, thank you. This has been a really nice evening. Thank you for having me here. We are coming out of the worst economic recession that our country has experienced in many years. That recession exposed Chico's deficits. Now we are in recovery. As we recover, we will have the opportunity to make Chico better than ever. We will learn from the past mistakes and forge forward with excitement and optimism. A rising tide raises all boats. As City Council member, I look forward to building productive and amiable relationships with each council member, all commission appointees and city staff, and our community. We are part of something big and pretty terrific. We are all on the same team. It is vital for us to support our existing local businesses and to assist them with their growth plans and visions. We must be prepared to capture the attention of outside businesses and provide entrepreneurs with the encouragement they need to choose Chico as their home. The city of Chico is the best big city in California. We must be good stewards of our environment and natural resources. We must look out for each other, take care of our parks, our trees, our water, and keep our food clean. There is no conflict between business, sustainable development, and environmental sustainability. We don't need to choose. We just need to make thoughtful decisions. I will bring fresh, optimistic leadership. I believe in Chico. I believe in our country. And together we can do great things. I'm Lupi Aramlaw, Leadership for a Fresh Start. I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you. If we give everyone a big round of applause.
I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I think it was a really successful night of forums. We're going to be up in Oroville, or over in Oroville, on Monday the 29th from 6 to 9, hosting about 20 or 22 candidates. County Assessor will be there again, Oroville High School, Thermalito School District, and 3 races for the South Feather Water and Power Districts. So September 29th up there. Thanks for coming.
You bet. Thank you. That was great.